The situation among the Red Skull fighters. Chu-Mu is located in the atmosphere and has an unobstructed view. No wonder Hydra's troops appeared in T-burg. It turned out to be because there was an expert behind Red Skull, who was supporting Red Skull and guiding Red Skull to find Angel's army in T-burg, from Red Skull in the special room. Chu-Mu also understood the ins and outs of the conversation with the guy there. Definitely. Red Skull's completely defenseless brain was also Chu-Mu's source of information on this matter. He had a clear insight into Red Skull's psychological changes and thoughts. Weighing more than 100 pounds, I guess 100 pounds of it is a traitor. My heart is filled with thoughts of betrayal. Wow, this leader of Hydra is really a standard villain. Chu-Mu made a slight evaluation of Red Skull in his mind. He knew that the reason why Red Skull was in this situation was most likely related to the super soldier serum injected into Red Skull. Super soldier serum amplifies a person's traits. Good people get better. The bad guys get better, too. And a guy like Red Skull who already has anti-bone traits will naturally increase his anti-bone attributes after being affected by the super soldier serum. The head of the Nazis must also know the virtues of Red Skull, so there are many restrictions on Red Skull. However, the reuse of Red Skull is more beneficial than harmful to the Nazis. Therefore, today's Hydra is also considered powerful among the Nazis. Monstrous. To use an analogy, Hydra led by Red Skull is probably equivalent to the uniformed guards of the Nazis. In a similar situation, it can be regarded as the sharpest knife in the hands of the Führer. Choose to use Red Skull to find the Angel Legion. This guy must have an unspeakable secret. Chu-Mu guessed that the special life status in the special room should be bad. 2. It can be seen from the appearance of this guy. Chu-Mu stared at Flight's fighter plane, looking through the layers of steel plates at the dark room specially created by Red Skull. Other side, he didn't notice Chu-Mu's gaze. Originally, when Chu-Mu saw the appearance of the headed snake troops, he planned to leave directly, but now he has changed his original idea. The target of these guys is me. Before I return to the future time and space, maybe I should solve this trouble that is most likely caused by the Almighty Eye. Chu-Mu landed in no hurry. He wanted to see how accurate Red Skull and others' positioning of him could be. The other party should be able to sense the aura of Heaven's Gate. While Chu-Mu was watching silently, among the fighter planes, Red Skull, who was waiting for the flight fleet to land, pretended to be respectful and came to the front of the special room. Sir. Can you tell me where exactly that nasty thief is hiding? Red Skull was anxious to find the person who took away the Angel Legion. He thought that instead of having people search all over him, he might be able to locate it quickly through the mouth of the guy who had already found the Angel Legion. As for whether the other party has the ability to position himself, he was also testing the other party's deep connection with the Angel Legion. Above the clouds, Chu-Mu has a clear view of Red Skull's little abacus. He silently gave Red Skull a thumbs up, feeling that Red Skull's temptation was as considerate as a roundworm in his stomach. The leader of this Hydra. How did he know that Chu-Mu was very curious about the mysterious guy's ability? Since Chu-Mu could not directly penetrate into the brain consciousness of the mysterious being, so after hearing Red Skull's inquiry about the mysterious being, Chu-Mu also listened carefully. The unaware opponent did not disappoint him. What a stupid guy. Do you need someone to feed you when you eat? It's just a small place. He is in this area. If you can't do this well, then why should I cooperate with you? Your stupidity makes me doubt whether you are worthy of cooperating with me. The mysterious voice was hoarse and angry, and seemed to be full of aggressive tone. In fact, what it revealed was that he was unable to accurately locate Chu-Mu's location. Perhaps, it can only sense a rough range. Sorry, sir. I will prove myself. Red Skull's eyes flickered slightly, and he also analyzed the information Chu-Mu obtained. After thinking about it for a while, Red Skull quickly expressed his loyalty to the mysterious life. He quickly returned to the fleet's command room and urged the fleet commander to quickly arrange for the landing of his fighter plane. Wait a minute. You guys will conduct a blanket search around the area and find the target I'm looking for. Red Skull began to emphasize to the commander the tasks that had been ordered before. What is the specific search scope? The commander looked at his leader. His eyes were a bit fearful. There was no one in Hydra who was not afraid of this leader. Don't ask me such stupid questions. What I want is for you to bring the target in front of me. The range. The range is definitely until you complete my mission. Red Skull also had no idea how wide the search range should be. Thinking of the scolding and ridicule he had received from the mysterious beings outside the special room, his mood became worse and worse, so his attitude towards the commander was naturally full of angry. Unprecedentedly cold and chilly. The commander and other Hydra members around him couldn't help but feel terrified. But since he needed to be responsible for the entire fleet, the commander still had some concerns about Red Skull's order. He hesitated and whispered to Red Skull. "Great leader, this is not our territory after all. If we provoke armies from other countries, we may have to face a fierce battle." The commander has a thorough understanding of the world situation, and knows that although he and others arrived in a neutral country, there is a relatively fierce battlefield not far away from this country. If they were mistaken for support from one of the warring parties, it was hard to tell how many troops and fighters would be sent to stop them. True. Hydra's fighters are indeed advanced. The quantity can be several hundred units. Facing the battlefield like a torrent of steel, it is actually of no avail. This is why they have not used their technology to sweep the world to this day. It cannot be mass-produced yet. It cannot produce the effect of a torrent of steel. Nature cannot play a decisive role. This is not something you should worry about, my commander. Are you questioning my decision? Red Skull frowned and stared at the commander coldly. He doesn't care whether he will provoke an interception battle. As long as he can obtain the legion left by God, he doesn't think there will be any problem even if he directly fights all the armies in the world. Don't let me down. I don't want my people to be trash like Rose. Submissive in front of the mysterious life. Available in front of Hydra members. Red Skull once again acted like the leader of the organization. His tough attitude made the commander who originally wanted to persuade him lose his last courage. Okay, I see. The commander saluted Red Skull and quickly wiped the sweat from his forehead to follow Red Skull's order. He began to direct the fleet to land in an orderly manner. Over the originally peaceful town, hundreds of super energy fighters shining blue were circling. The peace of the past was completely broken. The entire town echoed with the harsh roar of fighter jet engines. The sound of those fighter jets spray painted with Hydra and Nazi symbols has already resounded throughout the town, not to mention the sound of the cannonballs fired by these fighter jets clearing the forest. The ability extracted from Tesseract directly disintegrated patches of forest. The terrifying sight like the end of the world frightened the small town residents who were attracted by the noise and came out of their houses to find out. When they saw the black fighter planes in the sky, their faces turned pale and they looked frightened. The Nazi symbols were very eye-catching in their eyes. And when Hydra's fighter planes destroyed the forest and dozens of fighter planes began to land, the residents of the entire town immediately fell into chaos. Nazis. Oh my God. The Nazis are coming. What kind of weapons do they have? It's terrible. The forest is gone. We're going to be killed by the Nazis. God. What's going to happen next? For the residents of neutral countries who have always lived a peaceful life. Most of them. All of them had never seen the cruelty and ruthlessness of war, let alone the terrifying weapons that transcended the times. The whole town was suddenly filled with screams of fear and fear. Even before the Nazi Hydra personnel came into contact with them, most of them were already trembling with fear and their faces were filled with horror. The sight of the entire forest disappearing after an ability beam is ejected is simply a shock to these small town residents that subverts their outlook on life. In addition, the Nazis were notorious. Almost everyone's face was filled with despair, and they felt that their town was about to be destroyed. No way. Even countries that have not yet been involved in World War E have long heard about the evil reputation of the Nazis. In this era, the Nazis are like the most evil force in various stories. Even more frightening than terrorists. Crazy and scary. It is the cognitive label of the Nazis in many countries around the world. This is due to the vigorous exaggeration of the news media in various countries, and it is also inseparable from the Nazis' cruel war strategies. How to say? Although future history will prove that the Nazis were not wrong in their treatment of the Jews, the racism of the Nazi Empire affected not only the Jews. Anyone who is not their species. In their eyes, they are all inferior to them. Although it is not like the treatment of Jews, they will be exterminated on sight, but the lives lived by people from various countries in concentration camps and prisoner of war camps are definitely not considered to enjoy human rights. Because of this, the whole world will unite to resist them. In fact, if the Nazi Empire had been gentler, perhaps the entire world would have gone in another direction. How should I put it? It was also the problem of the Nazi leader. His brainwashed Nazi soldiers were littered with corpses wherever they went. Due to the strong racial background, the soldiers of the Nazi Empire would not show any kindness to other people. Human rights and morality were only for their own people. Most of the prisoners of war who were lucky enough to escape with their lives had to go through a life that was very likely to happen. More cruel than hell. After all, the Nazi Empire's own laboratories had to do a lot of human experiments, and Hydra, which studied extraordinary powers, would also use many prisoners of war to conduct their human experiments. Many experimental projects. The number of prisoners of war consumed every day is hundreds or even thousands. It is no wonder that people all over the world are afraid of the Nazis. Death when caught by them may be considered the best relief. God. I don't want to be killed by a Nazi. I don't want to be killed by a Nazi. They caught it. Everyone, run away. The Nazis are coming. The residents of the town. I have also heard of the Nazis' evil reputation for a long time. I saw Wu Yang fighter planes approaching. Resistance is certainly impossible. The entire town probably couldn't even get 100 guns together, let alone equipment that could be used against fighter jets. The police in the town were the first to flee for their lives. No one wanted to be killed or become a prisoner of the Nazis. Many people hurriedly packed up their valuables and fled before the Nazis came in. Some of, including the bartender who had been arguing with Magneto for a long time. Everyone was desperately running for their lives in the opposite direction to where the Nazis were landing and in the direction where they could escape from the town. Among the crowd, only Magneto, who had a deep hatred for the Nazis, went against the crowd and approached the direction of the Nazi fighter planes. He held the coin left by Chu Mu tightly in his hand. The devil is coming. Run. An old man holding a salute and a package was passing by Magneto when he tripped over an unnoticed stone on the ground and fell to the ground. Are you okay? Magneto frowned and took a look. After hesitating for a moment, he stopped and helped the old man up. Magneto at this period still had a lot of kindness. Thank you. Young man. Run for your life. Nazis. Nazis are all madmen. After being helped up, the old man thanked Magneto and started running again. His speed is increasing. It is said that people's potential will burst out in critical moments. No, the old man, who was at least 70 years old, also broke out at a speed that was not inferior to that of the elderly. The panicked crowd was running away from exhaustion. I can't run away anymore. Shao needs revenge, and so do these Nazis. Magneto doesn't just have a feud with mutant Shao from the Hellfire Club. At first, it was the Nazis who captured him and his mother. Because of this, when he saw the Nazi fighter planes approaching, Magneto was resolutely prepared to take revenge on these enemies. No matter how advanced the fighter plane is, it is made of metal. I will definitely make you pay a heavy price. Magneto began to make a plan in his mind. He also knows that his ability is limited, so he cannot directly control all fighter planes, but he can also cause accidental accidents to some fighter planes secretly. Against the crowd, Magneto soon arrived outside the town where fighter planes were landing in an orderly manner. He hid behind a remaining town water wheel and waited for the opportunity. Seeing those high-tech fighters, Magneto felt nervous and a little scared, but the influence of hatred still made him very determined. I have already felt their missiles. I can do it. I can definitely do it. Magneto, who tried his best to hide himself and looked for opportunities, didn't know. At the moment, in the atmosphere above his head, Chu Mu was watching his area. Standing quietly in the atmosphere, Chu Mu watched what happened below. He naturally saw Magneto's actions clearly. This good friend of Charles, the future heavy and cold mutant king, now looks no different from many impulsive young people. He actually wanted to challenge an army composed of hundreds of black technology warships by himself. It has to be said that Magneto was definitely blinded by hatred. Not to mention his current ability, which has not even been developed to 100%, even if he can easily control an entire fleet in the future, he will not want to fight the Hydra army alone. After all, no matter how strong his body is, his ability is nothing more than flesh and blood. The old Magneto knows this very well, so no matter what he does, he is always followed by a group of mutant boys who have been brainwashed by him. Those mutant followers are equivalent to ancient guards. Their original ability does not matter to Magneto. The most important thing is that they can withstand sneak attacks for him. The current Magneto has not been in close contact with death, so he behaves so impulsively. Hey, it may be because he has watched too many personal heroism movies in recent years. Chu Mu stared at Magneto on the ground. He could even see through his clairvoyance ability that Magneto's heartbeat was now close to 200 beats per minute. At the moment, Magneto was not only conceiving the so-called plan in his mind, but Chu Mu could also see many fragments of hero movies from this guy's mind. Obviously, Magneto was reminiscing about those movies to embolden himself, feeling that he could do what the heroes in those movies could do. Can only say, just like the rice circle culture, this can be regarded as a kind of ideological poisoning. Definitely, for an extraordinary person with super ability, he may really be able to become a pivotal hero. However, in the real world, no one will be protected by the protagonist's halo in the face of crisis. Young Magneto obviously didn't realize enough about the fact that he was only a mortal body, and it only took a small accident to take away his life. As for completing a shocking feat, he might be able to do it, but the greater possibility is that it will end in failure. In the real world, nothing has a predetermined fate. And even if there is such a thing as luck, Red Skull doesn't carry much less stuff than Magneto. Red Skull is already difficult to deal with. Coupled with the variables surrounding Red Skull, I think Magneto will become a tragic character. Chu Mu also didn't know how to evaluate Magneto's innocence and bravery. Movies of personal heroism are very popular in this era, even more serious than the exaggeration of personal heroism during World War I in the world before the cross-travel ban. Because the main theme of the Marvel Universe is individual heroism, in fact most people in the world respect this kind of individualism. Just like in the world of Detective Conan, most people around the world like detectives. The main theme of each world determines what life in this world will think. This is why the United States will conduct experiments in the near future. What makes Steve a successful cheerleader? In the Marvel Universe, all it takes is the appearance of a hero. It is enough to inspire people across the country. And when a hero rises in a country, other countries will naturally feel fear. This is obviously a situation that cannot happen in other worlds. In the final analysis, Captain America is just a strengthening person. The muscles of his body can only block small caliber bullets. He should be as powerless as ordinary people in the face of the torrent of steel. However, he can do many incredible things. I can only say that the main theme is like this, and the logic is meaningless. If you change the world and let Captain America participate in various wars, try it. Maybe before he can shout out the slogan, a cannonball he sent him to see God. The only beings with truly decisive power should be super beings like Chu Mu. The battlefields during World War I in the Marvel Universe can only be said to be very dreamy. Not just the United States, it's the same all over the world. The admiration for individual heroism is outrageous. It can only be said that the Marvel Universe has infinitely expanded certain aspects of human beings. In the world before Chu Mu traveled, heroism also had a long history, but it was not as outrageous as in the Marvel Universe. The main reason was that his original world was not truly extraordinary. So, the cradle of deeper heroism is lacking. However, if we look at the history of human development, we can also find that the history of heroic culture is as long as the history of literature. The civilizational era of ancient Greece began with the demigod and semi-human, Homer's epic, and the glory of the Germanic people was widely sung in Dragon Quest. These are all hymns that enthusiastically praise heroes. In fact, the characters in various mythological stories are also full of personal heroism. No matter which world it is in, the United States is probably the country that believes in individual heroism the most. In the final analysis, this has something to do with the history of their country. The United States has always liked to mass produce or create heroes. This can also be seen from Chu Mu's Future Time and Space, and the tolerance of the United States top leaders towards heroes. This is a country that deeply believes that heroism can save the world. The reason is that the establishment of their country comes from the legendary deeds experienced by legendary figures one after another. Indeed, they committed many terrible sins. However, no one can deny that a country with no history at all, just a group of prisoners, can develop into the most powerful country in the world in just a few hundred years. This is originally a legend. Because of this, they believe in personal heroism even more. Take a look at the campaign slogans of many presidents, such as making the United States great again. Without exception, they are full of the influence of this kind of personal heroism. Even in a universe where no extraordinary power existed before Chu Mu traveled through time, the people of the United States were eager for a legendary figure to appear again. Lead them to glory. Who doesn't want to have a great leader? Speaking of the Marvel Universe, even the mutant cannon fodder who will follow Magneto in the future are convinced that Magneto is the great leader who will lead them to glory. Legend. This principle also applies to many situations other than Charles and Mutant. Be able to see this clearly. It's not hard to figure it out. Why do so many mutants with a good life prefer to give up their families and lives and follow someone they recognize to lead a wandering life? Many people. Everyone wants to be a legend, or a part of a legendary story. It's just that Magneto's dangerous thinking now probably won't make him a legend, but will also make him a thought-provoking dead warrior in a sad little story. Chu Mu is not optimistic about Magneto's plan, not only because of Magneto's naivety, but also because there is a variable surrounding Red Skull that should not have appeared. While sighing in his heart, Chu Mu continued to pay attention to Magneto's situation. Magneto, who was hiding, would never have imagined that someone thousands of kilometers above the sky would actually be spying on his every move as he attempted to sneak attack on the Nazis. More than 170 planes are landing. There are dozens of planes in the sky that continue to alert the surroundings, but they should be paying attention to the situation in the sky. Are they preventing other fighter jets from launching a sneak attack on them? In any case, those alert planes will definitely not be able to detect me on the ground. Watching fighter planes landing one after another. Magneto became more and more nervous, and his palms were already covered in sweat, but he still firmly planned in his mind how to attack the Nazis. This kind of risky action is something Magneto would never try in his old age, but everyone has youthful impulses, right? I can only control a few missiles at a time, so I have to wait for them to relax their vigilance. They must have their own conspiracy when they come to this town. I need to wait for them to start stationing and the number of people guarding the fighter planes decreases before I attack them. A surprise. As long as 10 fighter planes are successfully detonated, it will definitely cause enough chaos, and I can continue to fish in troubled waters and kill the lone guys one by one. I can do it. I will definitely be able to do it. Magneto was constantly conceiving plans in his mind. Obviously, his age also determined that his plans were very shallow. It is correct to say that it is rather childish and ridiculous. There is absolutely no way around this. After all, Magneto is just a young man who has just escaped from the concentration camp. He doesn't even know much about common sense in society, so it's impossible to expect him to become a master tactician in one fell swoop. True. Magneto can become the king of mutants who will lead mutants in the future. Putting aside Magneto's many shortcomings, he does have the qualities to become an excellent leader. Only. Now this quality is just a hidden ability. It takes time and experience to sharpen his qualifications before his potential can be turned into an ability. This is equivalent to the fact that no matter how accomplished a physicist is, he had his student days. It is said that Einstein even failed the math test when he was a child. Definitely. Many people think this rumor is just a ridiculous story, but everyone must admit that no matter how powerful the master is, he was once just an apprentice. The same is true for Magneto. No matter what achievements he will have in the future, now, the so-called plan he made as a fledgling is simply full of idealism. Put it nicely. It means treating yourself as the protagonist and everyone else as supporting roles. You are convinced that you will succeed. To put it bluntly, you have no idea. I don't know how much I weigh. If I'm lucky enough, I might even be able to kill a big fish among the Nazis. No, Magneto was already thinking about victory before he even started taking action. He took out the special coin that Chu Mu had left before. He has been practicing his ability to control coins for many years, so a coin is the most powerful weapon in his hand. Bullet. Not even as fast as his coins. Nervous Magneto stared at the fleet in the distance. He felt that the general who could dispatch so many planes must be no small player. The painful memories of the past in the concentration camp continued to resurface. He suppressed the tension and fear in his heart, and a firm desire for revenge emerged in his heart. That's not a good thing. Chu Mu has been observing Magneto's situation. Originally, he had been hiding in the atmosphere. He just wanted to see what would happen next, so he had no intention of landing immediately, but he unexpectedly discovered Magneto. This stubborn man. Today's situation. It shouldn't have happened in the original history of the Marvel Universe. Magneto shouldn't be here. The same goes for Red Skull. Not only that. Red Skull should not come into contact with that kind of life, let alone look for God's army everywhere. He can only use the almighty eye. The impact brought by it is indeed a bit too great. And this historical deviation can easily lead to some kind of out-of-control results. Whether it's Red Skull or Magneto, if their fate changes drastically, it will have a greater or less impact on the future. Chu Mu doesn't care about the impact on the world, but Chu Mu is able to determine it, and it will have a big impact on many people he knows. How should I say it, Chu? The impact caused by Mu before may not be as big as the impact caused by the death of one of Magneto or Red Skull. After all, some rumors and sightings of gods in ordinary society. It makes very little waves in history. Chu Mu is very sure that as long as S.H.I.E.L.D. is established in the future, some related past and witness records will definitely be slowly covered up by S.H.I.E.L.D. agents. With a high probability, when the time comes when Chu Mu lives, the public's understanding of the world will not be much different from Chu Mu's memory. At best, some people who like to study mysterious events can dig out the anomalies caused by Chu Mu, and most ordinary people will still live in the auspicious world forged by S.H.I.E.L.D. and society. This is why Chu Mu doesn't care much about the impact he causes. The waves of history. It may not necessarily be able to affect him decades later. However, if a more important figure during World War E suffered a death that should not have happened. That's not necessarily the case. Both Red Skull and Magneto are considered important characters in this era, and their life and death may not affect most things in the Marvel Universe. But it is enough to affect most people related to Chu Mu. This is something Chu Mu doesn't want to see, especially if Magneto dies in this place. Many people Chu Mu knows. Everyone will disappear, not just the little Wanda brother and sister, but also Chin Gray and others. I should make sure. This is just a farce, not a killing scene. Chu Mu made a decision after thinking for a moment. Looking at the scene below the clouds, he took action. Definitely. Although Chu Mu changed his previous plan of standing still and observing Hydra's search for ability, Chu Mu did not land on the ground immediately to take away Magneto. How to say? Although Chu Mu doesn't want to see the deaths of Magneto and Red Skull leading to changes in the history of the Earth in the Marvel Universe, he doesn't feel nervous or panicked now. Above the clouds, Chu Mu's mood swings are actually not strong. It can be said that he is as calm as ever, but he has just considered it a little more comprehensively. Actually, even if he doesn't take any action, when an unexpected situation is about to happen, he will still have enough time to change the accident even if he is at high altitude. Level single universe life. That is already the best among the gods of the universe. Not to mention just blocking the possible conflicts and accidents between the two ordinary characters Red Skull and Magneto. Even if there are two-level godfather beings engaged in a life and death fight, Chu Mu can still handle it with ease and resolve it easily. An accident caused by the lives of two-level godfathers. This is the calmness brought about by the difference in life levels. If there is any real variable, it is only the mysterious life hidden in the Red Skull fighter plane. I can't tell whether its specific life level is duplication or some kind of special life. Chu Mu couldn't tell the specific level of special life on the Red Skull fighter plane. He could only determine that this particular life state was in poor condition. However, no one can tell how many trump cards and life-saving means the opponent has when the situation is very poor. Because of this, Chu Mu-sai is particularly concerned about what happens on the ground beneath his feet. Otherwise, the possible conflict between Red Skull and Magneto alone would not make Chu Mu care so much. He could even give Red Skull a mental hint to let Red Skull go home. The same goes for Magneto. If Red Skull hadn't brought a particularly troublesome character, Chu Mu might have chosen to use such a simple and direct method. After all, he is now far away from returning to the future time and space. It can be said that he can calculate the time using a countdown. He will definitely want to use the simplest way to solve the problem. I should get rid of this trouble before I go back, otherwise no one can tell how much the future will change because of this thing that shouldn't appear. Chu Mu glanced at the figure hidden in the special manufacturing room among the special fighters, and then released the aura of death that enveloped the entire town. This is what Chu Mu does. Whether it is the small town or the place where Hydra has descended, the invisible sight of ordinary people is now filled with the death power of possessed by Chu Mu. This way, no matter what happens, even if Chu Mu can't go down, he can at least ensure that Magneto and Red Skull will not die suddenly. If necessary, Chu Mu can even link the spiritual world of all Nazi troops and take over the command of Red Skull's army, but Chu Mu feels that this situation most likely won't happen. Just when Chu Mu released the power of death and then returned to observing quietly. On the ground, there were already a group of soldiers, fully armed and wearing advanced equipment, walking out of the first batch of landing Nazi fighter planes as if they were well trained. They patrolled around the forest and investigated the situation in this place. By coincidence, the first direction chosen by several Nazi soldiers was where Magneto was hiding. No way. This shouldn't be a coincidence. After all, the soldiers controlled by Hydra are all elite troops who have undergone professional training. They definitely know what dangers must be eliminated first when investigating the environment. The location Magneto chooses to hide can indeed hide his figure well, but such a place is exactly the location where he is most likely to be searched immediately. Professional training. They can definitely predict the choice of a guy like Magneto. Hydra Nazi soldiers searched very carefully. They were eliminating some suspicious factors that might threaten Red Skull himself. Although this operation is said to be a special operation, no one can tell whether there will be a traitor who will betray Red Skull's whereabouts to those hostile forces. Red Skull has been attacked and ambushed more than once before. Speaking of which, Hydra's army also attaches great importance to the safety of Red Skull. The same goes for Red Skull himself. Although he has the physique of a super soldier, the super soldier does not have much resistance to weapons such as bombs. To ensure the safety of the leader, everyone must search carefully. Look for any landmines. There may also be agents lurking in preparation for a sneak attack. Haha, those despicable organizations will only use this method to sneak attack Lord Red Skull. A group of Hydra Nazi soldiers responsible for the investigation must be loyal believers of Red Skull, so they search the surrounding environment and the ground very carefully. There are also some soldiers who have gone directly to the direction of the town. Their mission is to control the residents of the town and control the situation of the town as soon as possible. Similar tasks. Hydra Nazi soldiers have long been extremely proficient. Under the command of Commander, Hydra Nazi soldiers stepped out of the fighter plane one after another, and were assigned various tasks. There were also specific people setting up camp in an orderly manner. They don't know what they are looking for, because most Hydra Nazi soldiers do not have access to the Red Skull's true purpose. The mission that all Hydra Nazi soldiers receive is the same as the previous search for a hidden enemy figure. They are to bring all the living people they can see back to the temporary camp as much as possible, and then there will be dedicated personnel a review of the returning captives. In general, Hydra can all find the targets they want to find, and those innocent people who are not targets will be taken to concentration camps as free labor. And if they cannot take away the prisoners for some reason, in most cases they will choose to kill them on the spot. No way. This is to prevent those who have been captured from holding grudges and joining the enemy armies that oppose the Nazis. Therefore, in Hydra's view, it is better to kill them by mistake than to let them go. They are the real Nazis. Much more cruel than Hitler's troops. This time, all Hydra Nazi soldiers felt the same situation, and some Hydra Nazi soldiers were already thinking about how to enjoy the girls in the town later. I hope the girls in this place can be as pure as the girls in the small village before. Ha ha ha, I have collected the blood of more than 10 virgins. You are such a pervert. Don't make it sound like there's a big difference between you and me. When you tortured those cute little girls, you were never any gentler than me. While searching, Hydra Nazi soldiers are also talking about some disgusting things. However, although the specific content of their discussion was followed by Chu-Mu, who was thousands of kilometers away, Magneto, who was close at hand, had no intention of paying attention to these people's discussions. Seeing Hydra's Nazi soldiers getting closer and closer, Magneto's heart suddenly jumped up. He squeezed the coin tightly, and his mind was filled with thoughts of not being exposed and hoping that the other party and others would leave. This guy's heartbeat was in under Chu-Mu's gaze, it directly exceeded 300 beats per minute. It can only be said that he is worthy of being a mutant. The highest value of a normal person's heartbeat is minus age. Once this critical point is exceeded, death may occur at any time. Look at Magneto again. 300 heartbeats per minute. That is to say, his mutant's physique is somewhat special, otherwise he might be able to scare himself to death. Huh. Magneto took a very deep breath. He was ready to take action at any time. And just when several soldiers were about to reach his location. You two. Go take a look over there. James and I will search here. One of the leading team captains suddenly gave instructions to the other two subordinates. As commanded. The two Hydra Nazi soldiers who received the instructions walked towards the other side. This search method is a very common tactical plan when encountering many suspicious points. It is not like anyone is influencing them, thinking and spirit. As long as at least two people are not alone, they will have enough time to call for rescue even if they find something they can't handle. Today's era. Extraordinary is not obvious. Therefore, a fully armed elite soldier's combat ability is still very strong. If he is accompanied by two, it is basically impossible for someone to kill him silently. Not to mention that Hydra Nazi soldiers are very confident in their own strength. In this case, they will not feel how dangerous the situation will be caused by reducing the number of people. They are very arrogant. This is a fact. It is also because of the ideological education I received. The Nazis, as well as many imperialists, cultivated soldiers with a true wolf culture, so many of their soldiers were extremely cruel. They made a stupid decision. Magneto felt a little relieved when he saw two soldiers searching other places nearby, and the number of soldiers near him was reduced to 2. The originally strong tension also weakened a bit. Definitely still nervous, only. Compared with his previous state of worry, Magneto is now a little ready to take action. He knows very well that his ability may make mistakes when dealing with 4 people at the same time. However, if it is only 2 people, he can guarantee to be silent. Kill the opponent. Clang, a very weak sound rang on Magneto's fingertips, and the coin left by Chu-Mu was being prepared at the moment, driven by Magneto's ability. There seems to be love here. Just when the 2 Hydra Nazi soldiers moved their ears slightly, they noticed something was wrong, and they cautiously approached behind the stone where Magneto was hiding. Brush. Magneto immediately seized the opportunity and took action decisively. The coin in his hand instantly gained an unscientific acceleration that could make Newton sit up directly from the coffin. It was just a silver arc that was difficult to distinguish with the naked eye, and the 2 soldiers who came to investigate stopped their actions instantly. There were huge amounts of holes on their foreheads, which were injuries caused by being penetrated by coins. The 2 soldiers lost consciousness almost instantly. This is the situation when extraordinary people meet ordinary people. No matter how well trained these soldiers are, and no matter how lacking Magneto's combat experience and life experience are, in the face of absolute strength, the 2 soldiers were still attacked by Magneto without even reacting. Flash sale. Yo. Just when the 2 bodies fell down and were about to make a dull noise, Magneto reacted quickly and hurriedly bent over to catch them. He grabbed the two fallen people and avoided making too loud a noise, attracting the attention of two other soldiers not far away. He hurriedly hid the two soldiers in a position where they would not be easily discovered, and controlled the coin to return to his hand. He also wiped the blood off the coin with a complicated expression. This was not the first time Magneto killed someone, but it was the first time he began to take revenge on the Nazis. The mood was indescribably complicated. Captain, I caught a kid. Just as Magneto gathered his thoughts and hid behind the stone again, the two soldiers who had been separated before. He carried a little boy who was constantly twisting and turned back to this side with great interest. We can play that game. Just let the kid run in front and we shoot in the back. Obviously, the two soldiers who were sent out were completely unaware of anything. Something was wrong. They were looking for their companions with their captives, thinking that their team leader had searched other areas. Whoosh, another extremely fast silver arc passed through. Two bodies appear. The little boy who was caught was horrified to find that the two Nazi soldiers who had caught him fell directly to the ground, and a hole the size of a fist file appeared in their foreheads. How is this going? The little boy lost his voice and wanted to scream, but before he could scream, Magneto, who acted quickly, dragged him behind the cloth and covered his mouth. Shut up, kid. Magneto threatened fiercely. Don't make a loud noise. Understand? After the warning is over. Magneto then loosened some of his palms. He was probably worried about smothering the little boy to death. Magneto is indeed still a young man with a lot of kindness. How should I put it? Because of this, he became Charles's good friend, and Charles always thought he could lead him back to the right path. Is a bad person. Even. He also has heroic qualities. Did you save me? Thank you. Thank you. You are such a good person. Those demons are too scary. The little boy thanked Magneto emotionally. His voice gradually became louder again, and Magneto quickly covered the guy's mouth. It was indeed difficult for a 10-year-old boy to stabilize his emotions after surviving a disaster. I'm not a good person, and you don't need to thank me. I just don't want my current position to be exposed because of you. Follow this road and climb farther away. Otherwise, I will kill you myself without them taking action. Do you understand what I say? Magneto pointed out an escape route to the little boy. His vicious look also frightened the little boy. The little boy nodded quickly to show that he understood. Maybe Magneto's threat had an effect, so after Magneto let go of his hand, the little boy was very obedient and followed Magneto's words and carefully crawled away towards the distance. Looking at the back of the little boy crawling away, Magneto's eyes flickered slightly, just when he felt that he was indeed very intimidating when threatening others. I know what you want to do. You want to destroy the bad guys, right? I support you. You are a superhero. I believe you will succeed. The little boy suddenly turned around, encouraged Magneto in a low voice, and made a cheering gesture towards Magneto. I'm not a hero. Don't think that I saved you out of sympathy for you. Magneto quickly tried to deny it. However, he hasn't finished speaking yet. The little boy was already crawling again, and crawling faster and faster. His lowered voice obviously could not be conveyed to the little boy's position. Hero. Haha. Magneto's expression became more complicated than before. His eyes flashed violently for a moment, and his inner emotions fluctuated greatly. Obviously. The little boy appears. It left some impact on the future king of mutant. Above the clouds. Chu Mu also raised her eyebrows slightly. Such impact. No one can say how much it will change Magneto's fate. It may be an insignificant wave, or it may leave some unknown seeds. No one can tell. How much impact will this experience that should not appear in history have on Magneto? Will it cause any changes in his future behavior? In Chu Mu's opinion, the little boy's words definitely touched Magneto's heart, but it is difficult to judge how far this touch can affect him. But mutants are still human after all. It's just that there is an extra magical gene in the original ordinary human body. Therefore, on a spiritual level, most mutants are no different from ordinary humans. In this regard, even mutants like Magneto don't have any special characteristics. As everyone knows, a person's personality and thoughts will be deeply affected by one's own experiences. Behavioral observation studies by many scientists have confirmed this more than once. If the appearance of the little boy leaves a throbbing superhero seed in Magneto's heart, then there is no guarantee that X-Men Magneto will appear in the future. Well, that picture is really hard to imagine. In fact, Chu Mu's imagination has always been pretty good, but he couldn't imagine the scene where Magneto looked righteous and awe-inspiring, and then fought side by side with Charles. If that happens, well, maybe it will also affect the birth of little Wanda and Quicksilver. After all, if he can fight side by side with a good gay friend, Magneto may not necessarily have a relationship with a woman. If he is a gay, the happiness brought by friends is irreplaceable to a certain extent by any woman. Although Chu Mu has no special hobbies in this area, he is a person who likes to read, so he also discovered an interesting phenomenon in some journal papers. Couples made up of male gay friends are many times stronger emotionally than couples made up of opposite-sex couples and female-female couples. Good pal. Walk together for life. It's not a rare situation. Magneto and Charles are obviously good friends, and it's hard for Chu Mu to imagine them working together at Xavier's school. Kakaka. Just when Chu Mu started thinking about the relationship between Magneto and Charles. On the ground. Nazi Hydra troops are still organizing temporary camps in an orderly manner. After Magneto watched the little boy disappear from his sight, he took a deep breath with a complicated expression, and then returned his attention to where the Hydra fighters were gathered. At the moment, the missing 4 soldiers had not yet come to the attention of the Nazi Hydra forces. It's not that these people are so weak on guard, but they didn't expect that a 4-person team would be quietly killed near other troops without even a chance to communicate. After all, in an era when the extraordinary is invisible, well-trained soldiers can be considered ruthless characters, especially the elite soldiers of Nazi Hydra. Their vehicle combat ability even surpassed that of many special forces in later generations. Even if they encounter any situation, most of the time, they can pass on the information in time. Because of this, Nazi Hydra's troop discipline does not have a requirement to report every once in a while, which leads to the disappearance of some teams. Hard to spot. Definitely. If they saw the body, they would definitely be able to respond in time. However, who makes most soldiers focus on the small town now? Not only the wealth that can be plundered in the town, but also the charming girls inside. Most of the soldiers' focus and search direction are close to the town. At the moment, the investigation has been completed near the scorched earth where they landed. Since no ambush or landmines were found around them, and a temporary camp had been set up, their vigilance was slightly relaxed, and they reported safety information to the commander. Line up, as the commander gives the order. A large group of Hydra soldiers stood neatly in several rows. They faced the fighter plane with special decorations, as if waiting for something, and every soldier tried to straighten his waist as much as possible. What happened? Just when Magneto felt a little confused, the fighter plane door with special decorations opened. All the Nazi Hydra soldiers' attention was focused on the open fighter plane door. Magneto also finally understood why this group of Nazi Hydra soldiers were so serious. It turned out that they were greeting their leader, only to see Red Skull wearing a Nazi military coat, with an arrogant expression, and his head held high from among them, walked out. His face was terrifying and very special, so even from a long distance, Magneto recognized this guy who was famous all over the world. Is it Hydra's troops? Red Skull and his people appear in this rear area. What conspiracy is the Nazis doing? Magneto did not realize that this was Red Skull's private operation. He thought that Red Skull was leading following the soldiers of Hydra. They were completing some special mission of the Nazi Empire. Although it's not Shao's unit, but Red Skull. If it can kill this guy, it will definitely be a big blow to those hateful Nazis. After seeing the top Nazis stepping out of the fighter plane, after the Red Skull, Magneto became more determined to get rid of the leader of the Nazi army. Even a concentration camp prisoner like him knew very well the significance of Red Skull to the Nazis. If Red Skull died, the Nazi leader would definitely lose a right-hand man. Being able to severely damage the strength of the Nazis is what Magneto wants. His hatred of the Nazis is second only to his hatred of Shao, the king of mutants. The coins in his hand flipped quickly on Magneto's fingertips, and it was obvious that Magneto couldn't wait any longer. This is just interest, Shao, and the Nazi leader. I can't let it go. Magneto's heart was filled with resentment and resentment. He is a very confident, even arrogant guy. It can be seen from the muttering in his heart that he has never thought about whether he can fight against such a behemoth as the Nazis. Again. Young people. People generally have the idea that their hearts are higher than the sky. Hydra hail. Hail. Lord Red Skull hail. On the left and right sides of the flight fighter's cabin door, Hydra soldiers stood in very neat lines and shouted loudly at Red Skull, who walked out of the cabin door. On the face of every Nazi Hydra soldier, there is fanaticism for the Hydra organization and reverence for the Hydra leader Red Skull. The thing that can best control people's hearts is faith. Obviously, Hydra's method of using faith to rule its subordinates has indeed achieved very good results. The hearts of these Nazi Hydra soldiers are full of loyalty to their beliefs, and Hydra and Red Skull are the source of their beliefs. Seeing the performance of his men, Red Skull was very satisfied. Very good, very good. With a slightly proud look in his eyes, Red Skull looked around at the neatly lined up soldiers. These soldiers were all the backbone emperors who had been brainwashed by him time and time again. You are all warriors of the organization and warriors of the great Hydra. I believe that with your help, we will definitely be able to accomplish great feats that will shock the world. You will join me to create unprecedented history, and then be recorded in history and become the most glorious stroke in the history of mankind. You will follow me. Red Skull habitually began to drink chicken soup for the soul. His voice was impassioned and full of provocation, and the charm of language was fully demonstrated by him. Let's talk about speech skills. Red Skull's ability is absolutely comparable to that of the Nazi Führer. Look, those Nazi Hydra soldiers were all excited by his speech. The faces of every Nazi Hydra soldier are filled with longing for a better future, as if they have become part of the legend. After all, Red Skull's pie for these Nazi Hydra soldiers also promised that the soldiers would become part of the legendary story, which is very consistent with the main theme of the Marvel Universe. Justice is for this. It is no wonder that many old people in Hydra still have them decades after his death. Loyalty to Hydra. In comparison, in the future, most of the newcomers to the Hydra force will do it because Hydra can bring benefits. In terms of loyalty and dedication, it is absolutely difficult to compare with the Hydra members of this era. This mission is related to our future and the future of the world. We have to save this. Red Skull's passionate speech continued. There were already some soldiers searching in the town, so the speech didn't end quickly. In his opinion, the guy who stole his army is probably hiding in the town, and his troops can definitely bring him to his business. How to say? Red Skull has not seen much real existence, so his understanding of mortal power is obviously in a very shallow state. Probably because the mutants captured by Hydra may seem to have very powerful abilities, but they are vulnerable to a well-trained army. Therefore, it is normal for Red Skull to have a certain contempt for extraordinary people. After all, their organization has captured many powerful mutants for experiments. Boom. Just when Red Skull's speech was full of passion and the Nazi Hydra soldiers were listening in rapt attention, Magneto took the opportunity to get closer. After clearly controlling the missile of one of the fighter planes, Magneto did not hesitate too much. He directly detonated the missile of the fighter plane. Sudden explosion. It just happened. Fortunately, because they are loaded with energy weapons, the missiles carried on the fighter planes are not very powerful. Otherwise, a large number of soldiers will probably die as a result. Even in the current situation, the strong air wave overturned many people, and the Nazi soldiers who were relatively close to the fighter plane were instantly melted. Boom, boom, before the members of the Nazi Hydra force could react, explosions began to appear one after another. Magneto obviously knew not to give the Hydra force too much time to react, so he tried his best to control his ability to constantly detonate those fighter planes. But even though his body was filled with adrenaline, Magneto could only detonate one fighter plane at a time. Then he had to use the chaos of the explosion to bend down to find cover, and then quickly approach other fighters before he could continue to detonate the next one. Missiles on the aircraft. Can only say, compared with his performance in the future, his current ability is indeed very low. However, even so, he did cause serious losses and chaos to the Hydra troops. The nemesis of modern armies. Indeed. What happened? What happened? Red Skull. Seeing the constant explosions, he was also frightened, and the soldiers around him were all panicked. Calm down. Find the troublemaker quickly. Fortunately, Red Skull's response was also quick, and he immediately loudly issued orders to the soldiers, so the panicked soldiers immediately found their backbone. There is an enemy attack. Get ready for battle. There. After reacting and regaining organizational discipline, the army immediately discovered Magneto hiding everywhere. They all picked up their firearms and approached Magneto's place in an encirclement manner. In the position 360 degrees with no blind spots, Magneto looked around anxiously. There was no way to escape at all. Damn it. How could you find me so quickly? Magneto thought he could successfully cause large-scale chaos, and then turn these 10 armies into headless flies unable to effectively organize a counterattack. Never thought about it. Just destroyed 7 or 8 fighter jets. The original chaos. It was put down so quickly. Such organization was different from the army Magneto knew, and the reaction speed was far beyond his expectation. Don't kill him. He seems to have some special abilities. I want to live. Red Skull also discovered Magneto, and he immediately discovered the difference in Magneto. This guy. Can you control metal? Looking at Magneto, who was controlling a large pile of metal fragments and resisting the encirclement and suppression, Red Skull noticed with very vicious eyes how special Magneto's ability was. If this ability can be thoroughly studied, in modern warfare, Hydra will be even more invincible, if coupled with the help of God's army. Tisk tisk. The future simply doesn't look too good. This is God helping me. I am my destiny. Red Skull swelled like never before, and he issued orders one after another to capture Magneto alive. There's no place to hide. Magneto wanted to hide in a fighter plane, but an energy beam hit directly in front of him, melting the ground in front of him into a large crater. He was immediately frightened. His whole body was cold and his pores were upright. He had not seen much. Where had he seen such a terrifying firearm? And what was fired was not a bullet. He couldn't control it at all. In fact, he couldn't control it. Looking at the large number of soldiers around him, his abilities simply couldn't control the firearms of so many people at the same time. Am I going to die here? Magneto didn't have the Hydra Forces headset, so he didn't know the order given by Red Skull. He looked at the approaching Hydra forces around him and felt unwilling to do so. He regretted it a little. The cruelty of reality. Let him begin to discover that things are developing completely differently than he imagined. Nothing hugely successful. He wasn't even able to get close to the Red Skull, let alone kill the Red Skull. Well, imagination is always too beautiful, and the cruelty of reality makes Magneto very sad. Damn it. Magneto was extremely upset. He was not a hesitation person. After lamenting in his heart, he was also ready for a fight to the death, holding the coin left by Chu-Mu in his hand. It seems I won't live long enough to have a daughter. Magneto's heart was filled with bitterness. He gritted his teeth as he looked at the approaching Nazi Hydra soldiers, preparing to fight to the death to take away a few more Nazis. If there really is God, heaven, and hell in this world, then I have nothing to be afraid of. Even in hell, I will wait for you to accompany me. Obviously. Some conversation in the bar earlier. It also affected Magneto's thinking. He cursed loudly. Immediately. He was just preparing to make a decisive blow. However, at this moment. Boom, in the sky. There was a loud noise very suddenly. There was a loud noise in the sky. It's just that there are no golden characters on the stage. Under sudden changes. What appeared on the scene was a series of very dense and extremely unscientific lightning. Not only did they appear without warning and were very strange, but their colors were also the colors of normal thunder and lightning. It was golden thunder and lightning. It fell fiercely like an unexpected rainstorm. In an instant. It was to wipe out a large number of Nazi Hydra soldiers. The Nazi Hydra soldiers had no time to react and had already turned into dust. Even the soul has been annihilated. Yes, this golden rain is naturally the result of Chu-Mu's action above the clouds. It looks like the form of thunder and lightning, but in fact it is not thunder and lightning. After all, Chu-Mu does not have the power of thunder and lightning, and the divine power he possesses is not in the form of thunder and lightning. The reason why it looks like a winding and thunderous texture is just because he is flying high in the sky. Actually, the essence of this attack is still the divine fire rays bursting out from his eyes, but it only covers a very wide area. It was slightly wider by a few billion points, so that to people on the ground, it looked like a horrifying scene like the end of the world. What happened? Heaven. Yes, heaven. My God. What is going on? The end. Is the end coming? Have to say. Although the Nazi Hydra soldiers had also received training related to the supernatural, however, when faced with this golden rain, that affected tens of thousands of square meters, each of them was frightened and trembled with fear. He couldn't help but look at the sky in horror and exclaimed. These Nazi Hydra soldiers who could still scream were lucky. At least, they were not within the attack range covered by the golden rain. Because of this. Only then did they have the opportunity to sit down on the ground, scream in horror with pale faces, and then watch in horror as a large number of their companions were instantly melted. Some of the more timid Nazi Hydra soldiers were frightened out of their wits even though they were still far away from the range where the golden rain would fall. In those areas that have not yet been affected, there are many frightened soldiers shouting that the end is coming, and then they collapse to the ground and leak out foul-smelling liquid all over the ground. There are also many Nazi Hydra soldiers who abandoned their guns and fled. This has nothing to do with military literacy, but an instinctive survival response in a doomsday-like scenario. What's going on? Damn it! What is falling from the sky? Even the ferocious Red Skull was frightened and fled quickly. His reaction and performance were not much better than ordinary Nazi Hydra soldiers. How to say? Under such a scenario, Red Skull still has a lot in his heart, knowing that although he is a super soldier, in the final analysis he is just a genetically modified human being. With the kind of power that can destroy thousands of soldiers in an instant, it will definitely not be much more difficult to eliminate a reformed person like him than ordinary people. Contaminated by such an attack, Red Skull was pretty sure that he would suffer the same fate as the Nazi Hydra soldiers, dying suddenly without even being able to react. In the final analysis, the transformation effect of the super soldier serum is such that it cannot even defend against the shells of aircraft and tanks. Any small missile can threaten the transformers of the super soldier serum, so let alone face such an attack that is many times more terrifying than the missile. Is the enemy attacking? What is going on? Red Skull was so frightened that he fled very quickly and hid under the cabin of a fighter plane in embarrassment. Obviously. Red Skull obviously doesn't know the power of the divine fire ray. If he doesn't know about this kind of attack, even if there are 100 fighter jets in front of him, it will be useless. This guy thought that hiding under the fighter jets can avoid himself from suffering that kind of fall from the sky. A skyfire. Yes. In the eyes of most Nazi Hydra soldiers, what fell was golden thunder and lightning, but Red Skull's dynamic vision and binocular discrimination ability were much better than ordinary people, so he could clearly distinguish them. What fell was not thunder and lightning. Rather, it looks like the golden flames of thunder and lightning. Distant scene. It was like divine punishment coming to the world, making Red Skull terrified. He didn't know what exactly happened, so he could only try his best to guess in his heart, and his expression kept changing violently one after another. The guy who stole God's army. Has he already taken control of God's army? Red Skull's skinless face was filled with shock and anger. There was also a deep sense of fear and panic. If someone really took control of God's army before him, he didn't think he had the ability to plunder or resist. How to say? If it were just now. Red Skull may still be so confident that he is qualified to snatch it, but now, seeing his elite troops being wiped out in the blink of an eye, the remaining trapped fish have already begun to escape, and he too clearly aware of the horror of supernatural forces. This is different from the mutants captured before. Red Skull finally has a clear understanding and understands that the existence of mutants cannot represent all supernatural things. In the face of real supernatural power, the power and army he possesses are simply vulnerable. Why? Didn't it mean that that guy couldn't control the army of God? Red Skull was filled with fear, but the more he felt afraid of the power that destroyed his army, the more unwilling he was. Such power should have its only in his hands. Result. Just because he came a step too late. Red Skull was filled with chagrin and regret, and he began to feel that he should have been on T-burg's side at the beginning of the excavation. What should I do now? I can't die here. I still have many unfinished things. I should have become the king in charge of the world. Red Skull watched as the golden rain of fire in the distance gradually extinguished, and the originally lively station began to become completely silent. He had no time to feel sorry for the troops he had lost. Now, Red Skull only thinks about how to escape from here. Leaving the green hills without worrying about firewood. Red Skull is very worried that he will die in a remote place like this. I'm not afraid of death. I can't die so quietly. Die so humbly. Red Skull wanted to run away, but in his heart he was still looking for reasons for his embarrassing behavior. After the commotion gradually subsided, he got out from under the fighter plane, looked around, and found that hundreds of his fighter planes had been almost completely destroyed at the moment. They were annihilated one after another under the terrible rain of fire. Those fighter planes were not even able to fall to the ground, and together with the large number of Nazi Hydra soldiers, they became ashes and dust that could not even be found. Is God helping me? My fighter plane was not damaged. After searching for a while, Red Skull was pleasantly surprised to find that his car, the fighter plane he was hiding in just now, was not damaged. To that horrific fire and rain destruction. Not a single spark was stained, and the entire fighter plane was completely intact. Red Skull immediately felt a surge of joy. The rest of the life. He just felt that this was his luck. God didn't want him to die in this place, so his car didn't suffer any damage. How to say? Obviously. This is a narcissistic complex of Red Skull. He was originally a very arrogant character, and under the influence of the super soldiers, he naturally became even more narcissistic, to the point where he felt that he was the protagonist of the world and had the aura of the protagonist. Survived this time. There is also a complete plane escape. It even increased the narcissism in Red Skull's heart. In fact, before Captain America appeared, Red Skull did have a smooth journey with a script like Long Ocean, but the treatment of the protagonist was only temporary. He did not. I don't know that my luck has its limits. Just like now. Is it really because of Red Skull's good luck that he was able to escape with his life in the crisis and then still have 10 intact fighter planes for him to escape? In fact, it was not what Red Skull imagined. Such a coincidence was naturally the result of Chu Emu's deliberate actions. Otherwise, with Chu Emu's ability to see even an ant on the ground clearly in the atmosphere, how could it be possible for a fish like Red Skull to slip through the net? In fact, Chu Mu did not attack the location of Red Skull at all, so he and some soldiers survived. This is just Chu Emu's benevolent forgiveness. Definitely. Chu Mu is not a holy mother, nor does he have any special feelings or intolerance for Red Skull. He just doesn't want too many changes caused by the death of Red Skull. This is also the reason why Chu sent down the divine punishment. He just felt Magneto's determination to die, and there was absolutely no way he would let Magneto die together with a bunch of Nazi Hydra soldiers. Red Skull and Magneto are both important characters with their own missions in this era. It's not easy to change their life or death. Well, Magneto is even more important. After all, his life and death is related to the existence of little Wanda and Quicksilver. Because of this, Chu just gave a little help to little Wanda's cheap dad. In the final analysis, this move was just for the sake of little Wanda and Quicksilver. He eliminated the Nazi Hydra soldiers who surrounded Magneto. At the same time, he also wanted to use this scene to make Red Skull leave this area quickly. First, avoid the conflict between Red Skull and Magneto, and then Chu catches up with Red Skull's fighter plane to solve the trouble on Red Skull's fighter plane. This is Chu's plan. Only, no one knows except Chu himself. Red Skull was convinced that he was lucky enough to survive the fire and rain just now. At the same time, Red Skull seems to have also determined that this rain of fire is the power created by Chu using God's army. It can only be said that Red Skull's imagination is still too limited. He ran towards the fighter plane in embarrassment. I will definitely come back with revenge. I must take back that army. I just need to leave now. Then one day I can avenge my shame. Red Skull's heart was full of despair of failure, but being able to escape alive was considered an unexpected blessing for him now. Seeing that some of his personal guards still remained, but they were all sitting limply on the ground, he quickly shouted for these personal guards to quickly get into the fighter plane. When he heard his leader shouting, the frightened guards also reacted quickly. Get on the fighter plane. Right. Get out of here quickly. Their movements were also very fast, rolling and crawling to follow. Behind Red Skull, everyone is eager to escape from this terrible disaster scene. The development of things. Going in the direction that Chu wants to see. Just wait for Red Skull to start the fighter plane and leave, and then Chu will directly intercept Red Skull's fighter plane not far away. Although Red Skull's fighter jets are technologically advanced, black technology, and very fast, the speed of Red Skull's fighter jets is not even close to in front of Chu. There is no problem of losing track or being unable to catch up. Moreover, in the final analysis, no matter how high-tech a fighter plane is, it only uses the power of the Tesseract in terms of energy to reach this level. Beyond the level of the times, no matter how fast this kind of fighter plane runs, it can only bounce around on the Earth. It runs to the ends of the Earth. They can't escape Chu's gaze. Very good. The guy brought by Red Skull reacted very quietly. Well, it can't perceive the situation outside. Or does it mean that it doesn't care about this situation at all? In the sky. Chu has been paying attention to the mysterious life in the special room on the Red Skull fighter plane. This guy has no reaction at all to the divine punishment he sent down. The mysterious life is still waiting quietly in the special room, muttering to itself from time to time and cursing that Red Skull is not fast enough. Maybe he discovered me and was deliberately pretending. Chu didn't know why this mysterious being didn't notice anything despite such a big movement. You can't. Bad mood. So you can't even use your ears, right? This guy can track the breath of the gate of heaven from thousands of miles away. How could he not sense the strong energy fluctuations outside? Although the divine fire ray just now did not use the power of heaven, the energy fluctuations were also very strong. Logically speaking, the other party should be able to sense it. Unless. Chu's eyes narrowed slightly. Before leaving, he knew very well that he had to solve the trouble on the Red Skull fighter plane. Watching Red Skull climb onto the fighter plane as if fleeing for his life, he was also ready to land. It turns out, even if a level single universe like Chu exists and has the means to control and invade the minds of others, it still cannot make judgments like God. Perhaps. Only a being who truly possesses the power of omniscience and omnipotence can judge the development of all things clearly and control them to the last detail. In Chu's design, Red Skull will choose to run away with his tail between his legs due to a disaster like divine punishment. This is not an unpredictable situation. This is the nature of Red Skull, just a character who bullies the weak and fears the strong. Facts have proved that Chu's analysis was correct. Red Skull did choose to escape at the first opportunity. Chu was already ready, waiting for Red Skull to leave Magneto's range, and then he chased Red Skull's spaceship to kill the mysterious life on the Red Skull spacecraft, and incidentally gave Red Skull a wave of memory and thinking cleansing, so that he could leave before he left. After that, history can develop stably. However, just when everything was going smoothly, something unexpected happened. It's not that Red Skull suddenly became brave and changed its focus. The problem lies with Magneto, who was exposed to the terrible rain of fire before, was frightened like most of the eliminated Nazi Hydra soldiers. Faced with a disaster as terrible as divine punishment, let alone him whose ability is still in the early stages of development, even if he has already developed his ability in the future time and space, it will be difficult for him to resist. Every ray of the golden divine fire falling from the sky made him feel it. Fear and trembling from the soul. Just like those Nazi Hydra soldiers who were directly annihilated, this kind of fear and fear from the soul is an emotion that cannot be forcibly suppressed or restrained no matter what. In the face of such power and scenes, Magneto only felt that he was just like ordinary people, with the powerlessness of an ant and the ultimate fear of the unknown. Even if I had the determination to sacrifice my life for righteousness, and wanted to die together with the Nazi Hydra soldiers, I could drag as many Nazi Hydra soldiers to death together as I could, but the divine fire rain that fell on Chumyu enveloped me. Even then, Magneto was still pale with fear and reacted subconsciously. The same reaction as most Nazi Hydra soldiers. Covered his head. Closed his eyes. He hurriedly tried to hide behind rocks or other shelters. He had to resist desperately before, but in the end it was just a desperate choice. Who doesn't want to live? And death in battle and death by being smashed into ashes are completely different in terms of how miserable the death is. Magneto feels that he still prefers a method of death that leaves the whole body intact. No matter how bad it is, you have to leave some body parts to prove that you have lived. Being killed and disappearing is even more tragic than fighting the Nazis to death. Magneto is hiding. The reaction of the Nazi Hydra soldiers was similar. Only, unlike the fate of those Nazi Hydra soldiers who were annihilated, Magneto was not reduced to ashes along with the cover in the process of dodging. This was also a situation deliberately done by Chumyu, making Magneto seem to be lucky enough to be favored by fate and become the only survivor in an extremely horrific disaster. Around, there are horrifying scenes of craters everywhere, and all the Nazi Hydra soldiers have been reduced to ashes. Only Magneto and the stone where Magneto chose to hide are intact. How to say? Magneto slowly came back to his senses after the fire rain gradually dissipated and the movement slowly subsided. He looked at the silent environment around him in disbelief. I'm actually still alive. This was Magneto's first reaction. It felt both incredible and dreamy. He was also full of wonder at his luck. Definitely. Magneto is still a young boy, and his face is not as shameless as that of later generations, so he does not have the same mentality of, I am definitely the protagonist, like Red Skull. He was just marveling at the blessings of luck, feeling that the goddess of luck had helped him. Sometimes, the choices and wills of certain high-level beings would be regarded as if there was no connection between the lives affected. A choice of fate. Now, such is the case with Magneto and Red Skull. They all feel that their survival is due to fate, but they don't know that their so-called fate is just under Chumyu's control. God is helping me. Magneto also had similar thoughts in his mind, but unlike Red Skull, when he gradually came back to his senses and looked in the direction of the Red Skull fighter plane, new ideas also emerged almost at the same time. It seems that God really wants me to get rid of Red Skull, a high-ranking Nazi. Yes. Red Skull has done so many unscrupulous things. It's natural for him to die here. Magneto obviously blamed the situation of only himself, Red Skull and some defeated soldiers outside the entire town on the choice of fate. He felt that it was even God wants to kill Red Skull with his own hands. How to say? Although Magneto's thinking is not as outrageous as Red Skull's, it is obvious that he has some problems. He does not think about why God wants to kill Red Skull without resorting to the meteor shower just now, but instead gives him unnecessary hints to take action. Just in case. In case he didn't realize it. God, isn't that embarrassing? Magneto did not notice this obvious problem. He saw Magneto retreating towards the still intact fighter plane with a feeling of defeat. His eyes were full of murderous intent, and his heart was completely filled with hatred for the Nazis and Red Skull. Fill up. Nazi tyranny. Displaced many people. Red Skull definitely has a large part of the responsibility. In fact, under the exaggeration of many forces, many people think that Red Skull is one of the culprits of the tyranny of the Nazi Empire. It was Red Skull that influenced the Nazi head of state, which made the Nazi concentration camps a place that many people feared. Magneto also had this understanding, so with his hatred for the Nazis, he used his ability directly in the direction of Red Skull. This is the variable that was unexpected by Chumyu. Chumyu paid attention to the mysterious life in the fighter plane and did not notice the change in Magneto's mentality. So much so, Magneto took decisive action against Red Skull. Boom. Although the two people are still far apart from each other, as we all know, hatred is definitely the most effective catalyst for the growth of ability. In the past, Magneto awakened ability because of his hatred. Now, Magneto has gained rapid control because of his hatred of ability. degree. From a distance that could not be affected at all, Magneto stretched out his hand towards Red Skull's fighter plane. With his roar, the originally opened hatch of the fighter plane suddenly closed. Under the huge amounts of movement, Red Skull and the others, the defeated soldiers, were immediately locked out of the gate. Just a little bit. Just a few steps away. They will be able to successfully escape into the fighter plane. However, Magneto's opportunity was indeed good. He destroyed the hydraulic device of the fighter cabin door, which directly caused the originally opened door to fall down again. No matter how Red Skull pressed the button to open the case, it was of no avail. Although Magneto's ability has been enhanced by hatred, it is obviously not enhanced enough to control the entire gate, and it is still thousands of meters away. Just like the Sharingan of the Uchiha family, it is impossible for great hatred to cause a cosmic wave to directly open the eternal kaleidoscope. Being able to be enhanced to control the hydraulic device that destroys the hatch from such a long distance is already considered an improvement from the 1 Magatama Sharingan to the 3 Magatama. To know Magneto before. The effects that can be achieved by manipulating coins at close range are extremely limited, let alone manipulating metal from a long distance. This is definitely not just an improvement from 1 to 2, in fact, you can know this if you look at Magneto's subsequent performance. How much did his hatred increase in that moment? Definitely. More or less. There is still the relationship between facing death and being frightened by Chu Mu's reign of divine punishment and fire. The great terror between life and death is also a catalyst that can make people progress. What happened? Was the fighter plane damaged? Why can't it start? Not far away. Red Skull didn't know that Magneto was also a survivor, so he naturally didn't expect that it was Magneto's fault that he was locked out of the fighter plane. He was holding the remote control and pressing it constantly. His expression looked very flustered, and he kept roaring that he was extremely emotionally unstable. Obviously. Red Skull was frightened, and now he just wanted to escape, but the fact that the hatch could not be opened made him feel more and more uneasy. Maybe it won't be the same disaster as before. The other defeated soldiers were also very anxious, and some couldn't help but speculate, electronic interference, or the cause of some special magnetic field. This remnant defeated general has some knowledge, but he certainly doesn't know much. He only knows a few terms but can't tell a specific reason. That's not what I want to hear. Damn it. Find a way to open it. Red Skull was furious and shouted orders to the remaining guards around him. He wanted to let someone use the firearm or other metal object in his hand to pry open the door. Because he was anxious to run away, he was the first to raise his arms and prepare to pry. A dozen people wanted to pry open the plane's door. I don't know if it was because Red Skull didn't read many books, or because Red Skull was overconfident in the super soldier serum in his body. In fact, it may be that he was confused the Hydra leader, who was originally quite brave and resourceful. The other remaining Hydra guards did not fare much better. One by one, they actually started to carry out Red Skull's orders and prepared to stage a brothers working together can break gold scenario. However, the laws of physics have not yet taught them how to behave. Magneto's revenge has already come. Swish swish. Magneto rushed towards the direction of the fighter plane. At the same time, the coin in his hand suddenly flew out and turned into a stream of silver light under his control. The distance between the two parties is decreasing. Under Magneto's control, the coins burst out at a speed many times faster than bullets, and the power and speed were obviously much stronger than before. With the sound of tearing air sounds, the bullet turned into a silver stream and went straight to Red Skull's head. Magneto aimed at Red Skull's forehead, preparing to directly destroy Red Skull's brain. Coins are fast. The tearing air sounds are so close that it is difficult for ordinary people to distinguish them. However, after all, the super soldier serum in Red Skull's body still had some effect. Red Skull had already received a danger warning from his sixth sense at the first time. He didn't know what happened or why he had it. This kind of danger warning. But a habit developed over the years, or let him rely on the super soldier serum in the first place. The extreme reaction ability given to him made the most correct reaction without having time to think. Wow. Red Skull lay down without thinking, threw himself forward like a dog eating shit, and threw himself on the ground to barely avoid Magneto's attack. But because when Red Skull reacted, the coin was almost in front of him, and his forehead was still wiped with a large bloodstain by the coin. What a risk. My luck is indeed still working. Obviously. Red Skull once again attributed his survival to his own luck. As we all know, in this environment, luck does not actually exist. Damn. Magneto really wants to kill Red Skull. In fact, it was Chu Mu above the cloud who secretly used psychokinesis to change the trajectory of the coin. Otherwise, Red Skull didn't have the opportunity to lament his luck. Red Skull's so-called good luck is only the result of Chu Mu's interference. It's not the result of Chu-Emu's interference. Judging from the situation, the will of the Marvel Universe clearly has no intention of preserving Red Skull. Bang bang bang. Red Skull, who has no clue about his status in the Marvel Universe, escaped disaster. But the personal guards of Red Skull did not have such good luck. Not only did they not have the luck of Red Skull, they also did not have the extreme reaction ability and sixth sense of Red Skull. The Hydra guards standing around Red Skull escaped from the fire and rain just now, but they were not able to stop the pace of death for too long. Magneto's coin. It became the reason for their return to the West. These Hydra guards had no time to react, and their heads were penetrated by Magneto's coins one after another. But blink. More than 10 people were instantly killed. This was obviously not an ability that the previous Magneto had, but the current Magneto could easily do this. And there is still quite a distance between them. He's not dead. Magneto made an accurate judgment about his ability at the first time. This is his ability, so the coin route he set should be 1 through 18, that is, straight. It passes through the heads of all enemies and sends them all to hell. However, Red Skull escaped the coin attack. This was beyond Magneto's expectation, so he only reacted after controlling the coin to kill other people. It's really bad luck, but it doesn't matter, it won't affect the outcome. Magneto thought to himself, and continued running in the direction of Red Skull with a cold face. At the moment, Red Skull, who was surviving the disaster, had no time to be afraid. When he saw the bodyguard who fell to the ground in the blink of an eye, he felt that the fear he had before slowly resurfaced. It's that mutant. Red Skull finally discovered who was attacking him. His expression kept changing one after another, and his heart was filled with anger towards Magneto. Do you know what you are doing? I am a destined person. I am destined to stand on top of the world, become the absolute ruler of this world. How dare you attack me? Red Skull breathed a sigh of relief when he found out that it was not an attack from the Legion of God. Because of this, he let out a stern roar at Magneto again. Definitely. There must be a bit of fierceness in the voice. However, Red Skull is indeed full of confidence in its own description. There is a feeling that I am destiny, and only with my existence can this world have a future and a tomorrow. But Magneto obviously doesn't agree with him. Go to hell. No unnecessary words. Magneto once again plans to launch a second exploit. Seeing that the coin that killed all the guards turned into a stream of light and flew into the air again, the pupils of Red Skull, the leader of Hydra, suddenly shrank. He knew very well that he could not withstand such an attack, so at this moment, the premonition of crisis reappeared, and he did not continue to shout about destiny. Under a life and death crisis, Red Skull shouted loudly without even thinking. Gentlemen. He took out the walkie-talkie from his waistband and shouted into the walkie-talkie. His voice was broken, and his voice was filled with unconcealable fear. Help me. Sir. Save me. Not long ago, Red Skull was still in the sky and on the earth, thinking that he was the master of the future, and now his behavior in the face of life and death crisis was simply unsightly. The walkie-talkie he took out was calling for help to the mysterious life placed in a special room among the fighters, hoping to get help and rescue from the other party. The arrogant leader of Hydra is no different from a coward in the face of life and death. His behavior made Chu-Mu above the clouds unable to help but be dumbfounded. Red Skull's reaction. Chu-Mu couldn't help but think of a character in a novel from his past life. The way he looked when he was pretending to be compared, and the panic after the pretending comparison failed, are simply perfect replicas. People can't help but feel that Red Skull is a low-end version of Lan. On the top of the immortal world, in the proud world, with me, and Lan, there will be heaven. And let alone holding the original Imperial City with one hand, even without the abyss on his back, he was beaten like a dog. The situation of Red Skull is similar. Red Skull, who used to be arrogant, is now no different from a homeless dog. Save me. Sir, save me. I don't know if it's because there are no Hydra members around, but it can be said that Red Skull is frantically asking for help without caring about his image as the leader of Hydra. He yelled into the walkie-talkie, his tone full of hysteria and panic. However, the person he asked for help did not respond to him immediately. Sir. I am willing to serve you as my lord. I am willing to serve you forever and ever. Help me. Red Skull's voice was almost breaking, and all the people he brought out were dead. He was really afraid that he would lose his life soon after. Again. The super soldier serum will amplify a person's character. In fact, Red Skull is a person who is afraid of death. After being strengthened, he will naturally be more afraid of death. This does not conflict with his cruelty and arrogance. Human beings are naturally complex and multifaceted. Is there a bigger fish? Originally, Magneto was already filled with hatred in his eyes, preparing to cleanly kill the Red Skull in front of him, greatly weakening the strength of the Nazi Empire, and cutting off one of the Nazi leader's right-hand men. Get off to a good start on your own journey of revenge. Having experienced previous natural disasters, no one can tell what accidents will happen. Therefore, in order to prevent any accidents from happening, when dealing with other people, Magneto started very cleanly without any hesitation. He was worried that something unexpected would happen, causing the leader of Hydra in front of him to escape. How should I put it? Magneto's worries are definitely not unreasonable. Only, his idea of killing Red Skull as soon as possible to prevent other accidents and allowing Red Skull to escape was destined to be impossible to achieve. Chu Mu has been above the clouds, paying attention to the situation below. It is definitely impossible for him to let Magneto get what he wants, and no matter how fast Magneto is, he will definitely not be able to pass Chu Mu's eyes. So-called the speed that surpasses the bullet is as slow as a snail in Chu Mu's eyes. Do not forget. Even the Flash, the god of speed with the blessing of Savitar's armor. Chu Mu can also keep up with the opponent's speed. At that time, Chu Mu was just a level godfather, and he could already compete with the god of speed, Savitar. But now that he has become a being in the level single universe, he is naturally even faster than the god of speed, Savitar. Much faster, it is no exaggeration to say that the current Chu Mu can beat Savitar by 10 minutes. Such speed. Naturally, it has the matching reaction ability. Therefore, even if Magneto suddenly awakens an ability that accelerates 1,000 times, he still won't have the chance to kill Red Skull before Forbidden Priest can't react. Definitely. Magneto doesn't know this, he just knows that villains die from talking too much, and understands the truth that the longer it is delayed, the more likely it is that things will change. Because of this, manipulating silky coins. Magneto originally wanted to get rid of Red Skull cleanly. But after he heard Red Skull's call for help on the walkie-talkie, the coin locked on Red Skull's forehead was stopped in front of Red Skull's forehead. This prevented Chu Mu from interfering with the battle between them again. Well, even if the coin was very close to Red Skull's head, Chu Mu still hadn't made a move yet. You can take action when the coin touches the Red Skull skin. Even if Chu Mu likes to play a little more, he can take action before the coin breaks through Red Skull's forehead, penetrates the bones, and is about to destroy the brain. It was all in time. Since Chu Mu returned his attention to Magneto and Red Skull, Chu Mu actually knew that there was no need to take action himself. After Magneto heard Red Skull's call for help, he had already made the decision to stop the attack. This is not to say that Magneto is a soft-hearted person. Rather, this guy is asking for help from others. Maybe I can catch another big fish. Magneto's idea is actually very simple. He felt that the person who could make Red Skull send out a distress signal and say those words was definitely of high status, and might be another capable general of the Nazi leader. Since we want to take revenge on the Nazis, naturally, the number of capable Nazi generals that can be eliminated will be eliminated. Obviously, there is some misunderstanding in Magneto's idea. He has limited knowledge, and I don't know the specific situation of Red Skull. Naturally, it is impossible to accurately determine who Red Skull is asking for help. It can only be said that he made some wrong assumptions based on normal logical thinking. Other Nazi leaders? In any case, Magneto's wrong judgment made him temporarily give up the idea of killing Red Skull. Almost in the blink of an eye, he decided to use Red Skull as bait, lure some Nazis over, and then catch them all with Red Skull. My ability has become stronger. I should be able to cope with some small-scale battles. Moreover, I am still the one who takes the initiative. Magneto has experienced being surrounded and suppressed before, and he is not as reckless as before. However, he is still quite confident in his ability. Definitely. This kind of confidence cannot be said to be arrogant. If troops supporting Red Skull appear, Magneto can already destroy the fighter planes in the air. In modern warfare, Magneto is the nemesis of those modern weapons. At this point, I didn't expect that after getting this new coin, I would be able to gain ability enhancement in such a block. Maybe it would bring me some luck. Magneto took back the coin suspended in front of Red Skull's forehead, constantly flipping the silver weapon in his hand, thinking thoughtfully in his mind. Damn it. Red Skull saw the terrible metal piece being taken back by Magneto. He breathed a sigh of relief and finally had the strength to struggle to get up from the ground. I never said you can bing. Magneto's eyes suddenly turned cold, and the firearms scattered on the ground floated out of thin air next to the Hydra guards he had killed. All the guns were pointed at Red Skull, who was standing up staggeringly. Every gun seemed to be ready to go, full of death threats and terror. You guy. Mutant. Do you know what you are doing? I am a member of the German Empire, and you are trying to murder an Imperial officer. Red Skull was frightened. but he still pretended to be calm with a strong voice, trying to scare Magneto with the reputation of the German Empire. How to say? The so-called feeling that he died not fast enough may be a manifestation of this. Obviously, Red Skull did not expect the hatred between Magneto and the Nazi Empire. He didn't know that Magneto had a deep hatred for the Nazis, so he mistakenly used the reputation of the Nazi Empire to intimidate Magneto. Such remarks. It is tantamount to adding fuel to the fire. Shut up. Do you want to die now? Magneto's expression showed a bit of uncontrollable anger. If he wanted to kill more Nazis and catch one more big fish of the Nazi Empire, he estimated that he would definitely not be able to help but kill the Red Skull in front of him. This guy, it was simply tempting him to take action. Don't be impulsive. Damn it, mutant. Think of your own family. Think of your own parents. You may have powerful power, but your parents and your relatives do not. Kill a senior official of the Empire, and the whole family will be hunted down by the Empire. Red Skull was startled by Magneto's expression. Scarlet sweat was dripping from his forehead. It was the color of sweat mixed with blood. To steady Magneto, Red Skull began to use his language skills again. However, his luck was probably exhausted in the series of events just now. A guy who was good at analyzing people's hearts once again said words that seemed to lead to his own death. He tried to use Magneto's family to put Magneto off guard and make Magneto worry, but he didn't know that this kind of words, just like the previous words, were taboo topics for Magneto. No, the veins on Magneto's forehead were already there. The agitation continued. Coins in hand. It has even begun to spin at an accelerated speed. Red Skull's mouth is really poisonous. It can't be opened. Magneto doesn't have any family members to use for threats. He has already been killed by the Nazis. They killed them all, and Red Skull obviously didn't expect this. How to say? In fact, whether it is now or just now, it cannot be entirely blamed on Red Skull's poor brain, nor can it be said that Red Skull suddenly lost his mind due to panic. He was indeed trying to use language to influence Magneto's decision and mood, but he really didn't expect the grudge between Magneto and the Nazi Empire. No way. Even if Red Skull is given another chance, he can't possibly get this. The reason is that he has never heard of or seen the mutant Magneto. Most of the mutants captured by the Nazis were captured by the Nazis, sent to his Hydra experimental base for research. For Red Skull, who is very concerned about this aspect, it is impossible that he has not read relevant research reports and research plans for such an outstanding ability. Because of this, Red Skull's guess about Magneto's identity naturally did not include the identity of a concentration camp fugitive. He ignored another faction of the Nazis, that is, the concentration camp where the mutant King Shaw is located. He can only say that the original mutant Shaw hidden deeper. Even Red Skull didn't find out that the other party was using the concentration camp to research mutant. At that time, Shaw did not reveal his mutant identity in the Nazi group, nor did he inform his superiors about the research report on mutant. Just using the power of the Nazis to achieve their own goals. Similar to many people who attached themselves to the Nazis, and similar to Red Skull himself, it can only be said that Red Skull's miscalculation can only be blamed. There were too many of his kind among the Nazis. Listen, if you want to survive, just shut up. Now tell me how long it will take for the people who come to rescue you to arrive, and I might consider letting you live. Magneto has almost suppressed the anger in his heart to the extreme, but his qualities as the future generation of Mutant King have also begun to show. Regardless of what he was thinking in his heart, he still pretended to be negotiating on the surface and made a promise to Red Skull that he could not fulfill. Definitely. Or because of youth. Therefore, his acting flaws are still relatively large, and it is certainly impossible to fool a knowledgeable person like Red Skull. However, Red Skull is currently in a situation where he can only try his best to cooperate. Do you think I was asking for help just now? Red Skull's eyes flashed crazily, is not it? Magneto frowned slightly. For walkie-talkies. Magneto, whose education is at the level of a primary school student at most, probably barely escaping illiteracy, is no stranger to this, but he doesn't know the distance limitations of this kind of communication equipment. Because of this, Magneto didn't realize that the person Red Skull was asking for help was actually inside the fighter plane. He also never thought that the person Red Skull was asking for help was a supernatural being. Can only say, still suffer the disadvantage of being uneducated. I am definitely asking for help. You want to kill the person who came to rescue me? Yes, as you wish. As long as you can let me go after the incident is completed. I can tell you a lot of things, about the Nazis, about the secrets of the world. Red Skull would never believe that Magneto would be kind enough to let him go. But he still pretended to be eager to be forgiven and kept showing good intentions. In the final analysis, this could be regarded as an act of delaying time. Why haven't you responded yet? Damn it. Is that guy dead? Red Skull became more and more anxious. His only chance of survival was the mysterious existence in the fighter plane. If the other party doesn't take action, he felt that he could only take care of him for a while, not for a lifetime. The other party was determined to kill him. It was just a matter of time. Urge them. Hurry. Magneto didn't know what Red Skull was thinking. He just felt that something was wrong with Red Skull's reaction, so he frowned and gave Red Skull a stern order. Okay. Red Skull was worried that he couldn't find an excuse and continued to speak into the walkie-talkie. Seeing Magneto urging him, he quickly turned on the walkie-talkie and continued to call for help. Sir. I know you can hear me. You have to save me. I am your only choice. You have no chance of finding another collaborator. What do you think my enemy will do after killing me? He will bury everything. You will be buried deep underground again. Red Skull used another language, and he carefully confirmed it. Magneto just frowned. No. When I could understand German, I immediately shouted loudly at the other end of the intercom. It can be considered that some threats were used. How should I put it? He was unmoved by the mysterious life asking for help in front of him, but after hearing that he would be buried. Maybe he was worried that Magneto would do this after killing Red Skull. On the other end of the intercom, a low and annoyed voice came out. Useless trash. You can't handle even a small thing. I haven't found my legion yet, and you still need me to save your measly dog? Life. The sullen and hoarse voice contained extreme dissatisfaction with Red Skull, but after weighing it, the figure who had been quietly staying in the special room finally made a decision. Remember what you said. Serve me forever and ever. Really. It's not like this guy hasn't heard Red Skull's words before. Just after the sound fell, with a burst, tentacles penetrated the outer shell of the fighter plane, and it was extremely ferocious. It stormed out of the special room and rushed towards Magneto at a speed that could not be observed by the naked eye. Harsh tearing air sounds. It was so fast that Magneto couldn't react at all. And this time, finally couldn't bear it anymore. He. A golden figure also fell from the sky. It's like a god coming. Sacred. Unstoppable. A figure falling from the sky. It is definitely Chu Mu, who has been watching from the atmosphere above the clouds. His original plan. It was a rain curtain constructed using divine fire rays that frightened Red Skull and fled away in a hurry. Then he followed Red Skull to solve the problem of Red Skull's fighter jet. After all, Chu Mu was also unsure about the situation of the mysterious figure in the Red Skull fighter plane. Naturally, he wanted to separate Red Skull and the mysterious figure from the City Magnet Master, a figure who could not be lost. However, the plan originally went smoothly. However, Magneto's unexpected move blocked Red Skull's escape, and things began to develop unexpectedly in a direction beyond Chu Mu's plan. When his life was seriously threatened, Red Skull called for help from the mysterious being in the fighter plane. At first, the mysterious being obviously ignored Red Skull. But verbal stimulation by Red Skull. In the end, the mysterious figure responded to Red Skull's call for help. This was a completely different development from Chu Mu's original plan. The sudden attack of the mysterious figure was extremely fast and powerful. It was an attack that Magneto was not capable of reacting to. If Magneto was hit by that crazy tentacle, Chu Mu had no doubt that Magneto's entire body would be turned into a large puddle of bloody mud. The strength of the two sides is not on the same level at all. Even a random attack from the mysterious figure is an irresistible terror for people like the City Magnetic Master. Actually, this is no longer a question of whether Magneto can react. After Chu Mu's scare before, in fact, Magneto's current level of vigilance and caution is definitely at the peak of his life. He is always alert to possible unknown crises. It was like a tentacle suddenly flying out of a fighter plane. Although Magneto failed to capture the trajectory of the tentacle, he was also unable to react to the sudden attack. But since Magneto was always in a state of heightened vigilance, his perception ability and sixth sense were also fully activated. Therefore, before his tentacles could break open and wave out the fighter plane, he already had a sense of crisis rising in his heart, and he realized that he was in danger. Be a minister. Yes. Magneto today. He is not the crushing player of later generations who is used to being the king, relies on his own variant ability to do everything, and seriously lacks the use of his brain. Mutant Shao has been subjected to various high-intensity and cruel training since he was a child. He has been living in danger at any time and has been in a state of running for his life for a long time. This can naturally greatly train Magneto's crisis sensing ability and make his sixth sense respond to the sense of crisis as extremely sensitive. The mysterious figure attacks. Magneto had a premonition. However, it's just that the opponent's speed is indeed too fast. This resulted in Magneto still not being able to have much reaction time even if he had a premonition of crisis. Even though he had great faith in his intuition, he didn't even have time to discern why the sense of crisis was so strong. He had already used his ability to control the firearms scattered on the ground and aimed them at the hole where the fighter plane had been broken. The local attack started. However, this kind of prejudgmental reaction based on intuition still failed to bring much advantage to Magneto. In fact, he could only be regarded as the one being crushed. Firearms made using Tesseract possess power that is unmatched by other firearms in this era, and every shot has the power to annihilate steel. However, dozens of firearms made using Tesseract energy were all aimed at the direction of the mutation and fired. Even though the surging energy painted a large space with a deep blue, the energy beam it released was unable to do anything at all. Does any damage to the projecting tentacles. The energy that could annihilate steel hit those tentacles, which only caused a burst of blue energy fluctuations, unable to even leave the slightest mark on a large area of tentacles. Hundreds of tentacles broke through the shell of the fighter as easily as breaking through a layer of toilet paper. The only Hydra fighter present that was still intact was irreparably damaged, but Red Skull was obviously in no mood. Go feel sorry for your own legacy. Because of the movement of the tentacles, the earth is shaking. Red Skull was trembling. Looking at the tentacles waving out from the fighter plane, he could not believe that this was the special life that he brought back to civilized society, meaning that the size of that special life was only equivalent to that of an ordinary human file size. It's only over 2 meters high at best, so why can it release so many tentacles? These tentacles look like they could almost fill a small town. What kind of monster did I bring out? Red Skull was also trembling in his heart, but he saw that Magneto's attention was attracted. He couldn't care less about sighing and marveling. Thinking that he was almost killed before, the leader of Hydra rolled and crawled on the ground without any concern for his image, and ran away from Magneto's position. That is, a small temporary camp that has not been completely destroyed. I can't be affected and die. There should be a bomb in that tent. I want to find the bomb. Blow up that monster and the mutants who dare to attack me. Red Skull is a vengeful villain. He never wants to really serve anyone as his master. At the same time, he is also full of hatred for Magneto. Due to his limited understanding of the extraordinary world, Red Skull obviously feels that finding some suitable bombs can help him reverse the current situation and become the last living winner. He wants to bring these two guys together when he takes advantage of the mysterious life to fight Magneto. Blast to death. How to say? Red Skull is indeed a little more mature than Magneto, and has a little more knowledge than Magneto, but it is obviously still a relatively ignorant and ridiculous way of thinking. No way. The concept of explosion in this era is art. It has long been ingrained in the hearts of many people. Even Red Skull does not think that there are lives in this world that cannot be killed by bombs. I will be the final winner. I am destiny. While Red Skull was rolling and crawling while dreaming a dream of serious paranoia in his heart, Magneto was already locked by a mysterious life. This. What kind of monster is this? Is the whole world crazy? Tentacles that covered the sky were waving wildly in the air. Magneto saw that the gunfire had no effect, and he melted all the guns without thinking. Kakaka. The controlled firearms dissolved like ice cream and turned into metal spears. They were all aimed at the big hole that the tentacle broke through the fighter plane. Then, under the control of Magneto's ability, they gained powerful kinetic energy and directly shot into it. How to say? Magneto's strategic choices really show his talent in combat. Since attacking the tentacles is useless, all he wanted to do was attack the owners of those tentacles. Magneto pushed his ability to the limit, and the veins on his neck were as hideous as earthworms. Under the fullest urging, dozens of metal spears with a cold light cut through the air with extremely powerful force, directly penetrating into the broken hole. Dang dang dang. Magneto couldn't see what was going on inside the damaged fighter, but he still heard the sound of metal colliding, and his heart sank suddenly. He felt that the metal spear he controlled had indeed hit the monster in the fighter plane, but it still failed to injure the monster hiding in the cabin. He also felt that the metal spear he controlled suffered extremely severe distortion and shapeshifting after colliding with the monster in the cabin. What creature's body can be harder than steel? Magneto's eyes widened in disbelief. Before he could react, the large tentacles that penetrated the outer shell of the fighter jet rushed towards him as if they had locked onto Magneto's position with a fierce momentum like a blade. Magneto. Just a blink of an eye. Magneto didn't have time to react. The tentacles of the mysterious existence had already attacked in front of him. In this short period of time, although Magneto did not lose his vigilance due to lack of concentration, even though he was secretly guarding against possible threats at any time, he only had time to use ability to connect to the surroundings, which belonged to the Red Skull fighter plane, part of the Gold genus. Magneto's metal control is fast, however. But it can't be faster than the speed of tentacles. Those metals that had just been controlled by shapeshifting flowed into the air like liquid, but they had not yet reached Magneto to form a shield. Death threats just enveloped Magneto again. And it was countless times stronger than when I was bathed in the rain of divine fire before. It was immediate death. Actually, even if Magneto could successfully use metal to construct a metal shield in front of himself, that metal shield would never be able to withstand this attack. It is true that the materials used in Hydra's fighter planes are definitely not bad. The outer shells of the fighter planes are made of the hardest alloy of this generation. However, after all, it is just a metal made by Earth technology, not adamantium or vibrating gold. At best, it can resist some ordinary shell attacks. Maybe even the Hulk's fist can't be blocked, let alone resisting the attacks of high-level beings. Even if Magneto can successfully build a metal shield in front of him, the effect that the metal shield can play will probably only be the same. Paper shield is almost the same. You can understand this by seeing how quickly and easily the mysterious life waves its tentacles and breaks through the metal room and shell of the fighter plane. Definitely. Magneto didn't have that time to think, so he was just shocked that he couldn't react in time, and the threat of death was already close at hand. How so? Magneto's heart was filled with panic and doubts about the world. How many things in this world did he not understand? Forgetting the scenes of gods that the world has witnessed before, how come I can encounter overwhelming horrors one after another in an ordinary small town? Complex emotions were growing, and the afterimage of the terrifying tentacles was already reflected in his pupils. Fang Sakai was definitely in a deadlock at the moment. Because of this, it looks like I can't continue watching the show. Chu Mu landed from the clouds. He could definitely choose to continue using his psychokinesis, or other attacks with the ability to infect mysterious life, but that would mean absolutely nothing to him. First, the mysterious life is unlike other characters. It is impossible for Chu Mu to interfere with his attack and look around in panic like a headless fly. Although Chu Mu's psychokinesis is very difficult to detect, it can. An extremely ancient life like this would definitely notice something amiss at the first opportunity. It is obviously impossible to help Magneto deal with his opponent without knowing it. If Chu Mu had not interfered, Magneto would have been able to seize the opportunity to deal with this threat on his own. To put it bluntly, Chu Mu estimated that the mysterious being could just stand still and let Magneto attack. Now this Magneto. Maybe even they can't break through the opponent's defense, even if the opponent's condition is very bad. The huge gap between life levels is an insurmountable gap. Since there was no way to secretly intervene in this unexpected situation, Chu Mu naturally did not need to continue to observe secretly. Anyway, his previous plan was no longer possible. So, he also immediately landed back to the human world on the ground, landing directly in front of Magneto and blocking the tentacle attack for Magneto. You can't just die here. Little Wanda and the company janitor Quicksilver flashed through Chu Mu's mind. He turned his head and looked at the stunned Magneto with deep meaning. Careful. Magneto wanted to issue a warning. However, the tentacles of the mysterious life have already attacked in front of him. Just like Magneto felt. The guy who appeared mysteriously in front of him had to bear a terrible blow for himself, and when he died, the platinum gold divine power bloomed in Chu Mu's body. Immediately. In front of Chu Mu and Magneto, an indestructible barrier was formed, completely blocking out the tentacles of the mysterious life that were even sharper than blade. Boom. The surging tentacles were like waves, however, the white gold barrier was stable and solid, not even a ripple appeared on the surface. Even though the surrounding towns and land were destroyed in patches, and the mountains were leveled, the terrifying tentacles were still unable to break through the barrier of divine power. This. Magneto, whose eyes were wider than a cow's eyes, was stuck on the words in his mouth. He felt a strong sense of security on the white gold barrier. It seems that I overestimated this guy's strength. Only then did Chu Mu straighten his neck and look at the large tentacles that were blocked outside the barrier. The white gold divine power and dazzling brilliance flowed and bloomed on the surface of his body, making him appear as powerful and extraordinary as a god descending into the world. It's you. At this time, Magneto stared at Chu Mu, who was blooming with divine power. He saw that behind Chu Mu, hundreds of millions of rays of light slowly spread out, forming a team of brilliant wings that were sacred and could not be desecrated. Magneto, who was already shocked and in disbelief, suddenly changed his expression several times. His eyes and tone of voiceless exclamation were full of horror. Obviously, he recognized Chu Mu, and not only did he recognize Chu Mu as the guy who seemed to be a future man that he met in the bar before, but the most important thing was that Magneto also recognized the wings behind Chu Mu. Isn't it something that only the gods who influenced the entire Earth had before? How can it be? All of a sudden, Magneto, who once again recovered from the threat of death, fell into a state where his brain was buzzing and his whole body couldn't help but tremble a few times. He only felt that this world was extremely dreamy and unreal. The person I met in the bar before was actually a real god. The figure of Chu Mu blocking Magneto not only made Magneto feel the joy of escaping from death again, but also made Magneto feel unbelievable from the bottom of his heart. He looked at the voice shining with divine luster in front of him, and the emotions revealed in his eyes were very complicated. Shocked, appalled, incredible, and deeply confused. Originally, Magneto felt that he had used his imagination enough to guess Chu Mu's identity. Future people. It may be some kind of mutant in the future who has the ability to travel through time and space, or it may be a mutant scientist who has developed a way to travel through time and space. In any case, Magneto also feels that one person has multiple variant abilities, some of which are too beyond him. Understanding of one's own ethnic group. So, while he was in the bar, he was thinking that Chu Mu's identity might be a mutant with the means of annihilation, but he was also a scientist who discovered the means of time travel. This kind of guess is already a guess that Magneto feels he can use his imagination to the fullest. You must know that he has not received much cultural education. The idea of scientists inventing a means of time travel is already the most reasonable situation he can think of. This is also thanks to the development of the film industry, which has exposed him to a lot of literature related to time travel. For example, the mysteriously missing US military fleet, the magnetic field in the Bermuda Triangle, etc. During the escape process, Magneto did not miss these things. Despite this, Magneto had already felt that the identity of a mutant scientist with the ability to travel through time and space was already too outrageous speculation and inference. However, never thought about it. After a short interval of time, reality gave him a hard education, letting him know how lacking his imagination was. The reality is actually even more outrageous than the story told by the bartender for a long time. Magneto's heart was filled with thousands of words, but in the end they all turned into a trembling, mother fake. How to say? Unlike the future S.H.I.E.L.D. director's customary words, these legendary words in Magneto's mouth only express how hard it is to calm down in his heart. This moment, Magneto experienced the upgraded version of the experience of the rich second generation is by my side. The shock of the gods are actually by my side made him feel that the whole world was magical. Yes. It feels even more absurd than a dream. Magneto's vocabulary is very limited, so he can only use the word magic to describe his inner feelings at the moment. He was sure. There was absolutely no error in judgment on his part. The mysterious figure in front of you. It is definitely the god that shocked the whole world a few days ago, made many religions crazy about it, and even started religious wars in many places. Many sects are wondering who this god is. To argue for the ownership of this god. Basically, most religions try to declare that the phantoms of gods that appear above the earth are the main gods of their religions, showing their power in the human world. For such a statement. In the past, Magneto felt scornful. He is the kind of person who is sober in the world. Even if he does not have much culture, he can still judge that the phantoms of gods that appear in the sky on the earth most likely have nothing to do with the religions on the earth. Relation. If they are really the beings served by those religions, why don't they show their miracles for those religions? You can add more believers to yourself with just a casual move. Aren't these the gods that allow believers to preach on the earth? What do you most want to see? Like Magneto in later generations, today's Magneto also subconsciously thinks in a stake-related way when thinking about problems. Because of this, only he can judge. The war for gods between religions is just a kind of spontaneous YY. In the final analysis, it is just to deceive those ignorant people. How should I put it? Magneto's views on the events of the past few days definitely belong to the ranks of the most sane in the world. Only Magneto, who is sober in the world, had never imagined before today that he would actually meet the real owner who caused a global sensation a few days ago. That god who stands outside the earth and whose phantom shrouds the sky above the entire earth has attracted countless people to worship him and made many religions go crazy for him. God is in the world. Not to mention Magneto, even those religious people would never imagine such a situation. Otherwise, if you give those religious people 10,000 courages, they will never dare to make up the attribution of gods without authorization. Magneto feels that he is really lucky. It's you. It's definitely you. Magneto didn't want to get Chu Mu's response. He just flashed his eyes crazily, and his emotions fluctuated huge amounts of while staring at Chu Mu's back and constantly exclaimed. The light radiating from Chu Mu's body and the aura that can affect human souls and make humans unable to help but rise up to worship him are really unforgettable for him. This feeling. Magneto would never forget it in his lifetime, not to mention that the previous incident had only happened a few days ago. he could definitely identify this familiar feeling. As an arrogant mutant, Magneto has never believed in anything in his life, but under this kind of atmosphere, even he can't help but want to kneel to the ground. This will naturally make Magneto unforgettable for the rest of his life, and he also decided that he could not tell the difference. After all, the more proud a person is, the more he is affected by this sense of surrender that comes from his soul and cannot be resisted by his own will. Now Magneto is still gritting his teeth to resist the majesty emanating from Chumyu, using all his willpower to prevent himself from falling to his knees. The body of the god in front of you. In fact, it was not Chumyu's intention to embarrass Magneto. How to say? Although Chumyu did not deliberately exude majesty, nor did he stare at where Magneto was, his power originally had a special influence. Chumyu can't just focus on controlling this kind of energy fluctuation just for Magneto, right? Magneto has no reason for Chumyu to do this. Although Magneto has some wishful thinking, that is definitely not the reason for Chumyu to take special care of him. Chumyu has already done his best to save his life. As for allowing him to stay more relaxed, that is not what Chumyu should do. After all, although Magneto is the father of little Wanda and Quicksilver, he is also a terrible father who never gives little Wanda and Quicksilver paternal love. This is the case. How else would Chumyu take care of him? Non-existent. Under such circumstances, it is reasonable for Magneto's legs to tremble under the pressure, but he is still struggling to hold on. If he and my future daughter really have the relationship I imagined, I can't even kneel down. This is probably a major pillar of Magneto's determination. He obviously misunderstood the identity of Chumyu and his future daughter because of the reason Chumyu said when she let him go. We can't blame Magneto for his rich imagination, mainly because he might have been a little confused before and thought what Chumyu said was a bit arrogant. But now, after verifying and confirming the identity of Chumyu, who was the god who previously stood on the earth, Magneto immediately realized why the person in front of him would say that. Thank you for your unborn daughter. She is an important reason why you are still alive and well after being rude to me. These gentle words echoed in Magneto's mind again, but this time it made Magneto feel his scalp numb. Feeling weak in heart, it was hard for him not to imagine. What kind of crime does rudeness in this sentence represent? Even though he had never studied law or joined any religion, it was not difficult for Magneto to guess that since the man who helped him resist the attack was a god, speaking disrespectfully to a god was definitely a major crime of blasphemy. In any religion, blasphemy, neither of them will end well. So, I am really lucky to be alive. Well, maybe I should really thank my unborn daughter in the future. Think of this. Magneto felt both indescribable and a little ridiculous in his heart. However, he was very sure of one thing, that is, although his daughter was not born yet, he definitely owed his daughter a life-saving grace. No, it should be 2 life-saving graces. Magneto didn't believe it. This time Chumyu suddenly appeared from the sky to help him resist the attack of an unknown existence, which showed how much he liked him. It must be because of my daughter. Because of this, Magneto felt more and more that the relationship between his daughter and the existence in front of him was definitely not simple. Maybe they really are a couple? This is really. Magneto thought of his rude provocation to Chumyu when he had ridiculed Chumyu before. He didn't know how to describe his heart at the moment. It's time to talk about daughter's cowhide. Can you be named a god? Or should I say that I am a coward? I need to rely on my daughter's relationship to be protected by the other party and to be able to escape from the other party's hands with my life? The more I think about it, Magneto felt more and more outrageous in his heart. Not only because of the Chumyu in front of him, but also because he felt weird when he thought about his daughter. After all, he was still single now. Not to mention her daughter, even my wife. Magneto didn't expect that either. Knowing your future in advance and learning something about the future is definitely an indescribable experience for anyone. I've been waiting for you for a long time. Chumyu had no idea what was going on in Magneto's mind behind him. He was not focused on spying on Magneto's mind. After falling to the ground, Chumyu's full attention. They were all placed on the raging tentacle owners. Looking at the broken fighter plane, Chumyu's supervision penetrated the steel and saw the mysterious life in the special room inside. So that's it. There is a god on the earth. No wonder there are people faster than me. It seems that you stole the legion that belongs to me. The owner of crazy tentacles. The mysterious life in the special room also felt Chumyu's life breath at the moment, and he suddenly shouted as if he had a sudden realization. The voice was low and hoarse, like a roar, or some kind of sharp roar. I didn't expect that you haven't left this planet after stealing my legion. Ha 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 ha, this is definitely God's favor for me. Strange God. You will regret your decision not to leave. It has to be said that it seems that this mysterious life can find Red Skull to cooperate. Now it seems that it is not just a coincidence. He is simply as narcissistic as Red Skull, and he starts at every turn. Shout old God favors. I not only want to get back what belongs to me, I also want to absorb your divinity. Absorb your life. Let you be my nourishment on the road to recovery. The roar full of excitement and desire seemed to reverberate throughout the world. Magneto covered his ears in pain. The sound of the earth shaking had some kind of polluting power, making him. His spirit felt extremely painful, as if his whole head was about to explode. What the hell is this? Magneto roared in his mind. At the same time, after the mysterious life roared loudly, more tentacles opened up the shell of the broken fighter, and swung out from it to attack Chumyu. All of a sudden, the entire sky seems to have been shrouded in terrifying tentacles. Each of these tentacles has the terrifying power to easily tear apart adamantium and Zhenjin, Chumyu's points. Ability is very good, so you can judge the power these tentacles can produce at a glance. Adamantium. Shock gold. They are the strongest alloy materials on Earth and are considered top-notch alloy materials in the universe, but the tentacles controlled by mysterious beings can easily tear them apart. But such power is certainly terrifying, but in Chumyu's eyes, it is not a threat. No matter how many there are, it is impossible to destroy the barrier built by his divine power. No matter how strong the force is, it's nothing more than brute force. Unless it can reach the level of destroying galaxies. Otherwise, without any laws attached, no matter how much brute force it is. For Chumyu, there is no threat at all. It's just that such an attack has no effect on me. Don't tell me that I've been guarding against you for a long time, but you only have this ability. The divine brilliance in Chumyu's eyes shone incomparably, and the divine radiance emanating from his body illuminated all things. He looked at the mysterious life still hiding among the damaged fighter planes. I'm very curious. If you want something from me so much, why don't you come out and show your true body to ask for it from me? Are you disdainful of fighting me face to face? Or do you have something to hide? Chumyu's tone was joking, with no intention of wanting the other party to answer. After he finished speaking, he activated his psychokinesis, tearing Red Skull's fighter plane into metal fragments all over the sky in an instant. Including the special rooms in which mysterious beings have been huddled, under Chumyu's psychokinesis, they have also become fragments floating in the sky. The mysterious life hidden in it was directly exposed under this sudden sneak attack, showing its true appearance. What the hell is this? Magneto, who was hiding behind Chumyu, immediately opened his eyes and screamed in horror after seeing the body of the mysterious being. Obviously, the appearance of mysterious life. It completely changed Magneto's understanding of the world. Even more than he knew there was a god in this world. It made him feel more frightened and horrified. Why do such ugly, weird and ferocious monsters exist in this world? The existence of gods. This is already an extremely subversive thing. However, the madness of this world obviously doesn't stop there, and the things that are revealed one after another make Magneto feel so frightened that he becomes slightly numb. Just a little bit. It is estimated that it will reach the level of "this world is fake," and "you are all fake," and the whole person may be driven crazy. No way. After the damaged fighter plane was dismembered by Chumyu, the creatures revealed were too terrifying. According to Magneto, they could not even be regarded as creatures at all. Although when he saw many tentacles waving in the sky before, Magneto had some awareness and guessed that the thing in the fighter plane might be some kind of monster, but even if he was prepared in his heart, when he saw it with his own eyes, he's still very frightened. In this world, how could there be such a ferocious, terrifying, weird, and creepy creature? It was completely unlike a life that could be born in normal nature. Even among the mutants whose bodies have mutated due to the X gene, Magneto believes that there will never be such a type that makes his skin crawl. Talk about ugliness. The ugliest mutant he has ever seen in his life is not even 1% as good as the creature in front of him. Moreover, the mutant is full of ominous and evil aura, which makes people can't help but feel that such a creature is like crawling out of hell. The devil comes out. Not only Magneto had this feeling, but also Red Skull, who had always been related to this mysterious life and brought the mysterious life to this place. He stumbled away and ran far away. When he turned around and saw the mysterious life, he was also frightened. A huge jump. How did he become like this? Obviously, before Red Skull cooperated with the mysterious life. He still doesn't know that mysterious life has such a form. In fact, Red Skull's understanding of his cooperation partner is very limited. He just dug the other party out of a ruins, and chose to cooperate with the other party after the other party gave him some benefits and promised to win a big pie. In Red Skull's view, this mysterious life is most likely just a super ancient life. Perhaps. It's because I've lived a long time that I know about the Legion of God. This was Red Skull's previous view. In the heart of Red Skull, he doesn't believe in any gods at all, so he has the idea that blasphemy is taking away God's authority. In his opinion, God is just a higher level life than human beings, and God's legions are higher than human legions. It's just a level legion. Because of this, Red Skull has never had any respect for the so-called God, the so-called gods, the so-called angels and the Legion of God. It cannot be said that Red Skull's idea is wrong. In fact, he has seen the truth of the world. God and the so-called gods are indeed higher level beings. The only thing he was wrong about, it's because you haven't weighed your own weight clearly. True. Gods are just higher level beings. But just like a rabbit will feel frightened in front of a lion, low-level beings should also be in awe of high-level beings. Here at Red Skull, but he overestimated himself. He mistakenly placed his status in the same area as high-level beings, which resulted in his current embarrassing and humble situation. How can I put it? This is the character of Red Skull. The character after being affected by the super soldier serum. Under normal circumstances, he should have only woken up after his soul was enslaved by the infinite gems. Humans like him have real power. How humble. And now, although the events that happened one after another have highlighted his insignificance, he still failed to clearly assess his position. I knew this super ancient life was not a good thing. Damn it. It's actually a human form disguised as this kind of monster. I thought he had some kind of skin disease and couldn't see the sun. Red Skull was shocked by the appearance of the mysterious life. He rolled and crawled towards the remaining camp, constantly cursing the mysterious life in his heart, and definitely, he was also cursing Chu-Mu and Magneto. I'm going to blow you all up. The reason why Red Skull is so persistent in running to this remaining camp is that he remembers that this camp contains some bombs made by Tesseract. That was the result of Hydra scientists' recent research. Originally, he only carried some for experimental purposes. Nowadays, these are just energy bombs that he took out for experiments, but they have become Red Skull's only hope for a comeback. As for the power of this batch of energy bombs, he has already mastered it in Hydra's testing ground. I have seen it before. He only took it out to collect explosion parameters on different terrains. He was very sure that as long as it was carbon-based life, it would be impossible to escape the power of the bomb explosion. It was an explosion that could destroy the world and destroy everything. If it weren't for the difficulty in mass production and the relatively small scope of impact, Red Skull would have started using them to fight. It's definitely more than enough to kill these guys. Red Skull thought with gritted teeth. He wished he could blow up all the other three parties present. As the leader of Hydra, he has never been so wronged and embarrassed. He must make those who dare to plot against him pay the price. There are still 50 meters. I just need to run over. Red Skull had a firm belief in his heart, and he tried his best to run towards the remaining camp in the chaotic battle situation. And the other side. Magneto obviously didn't notice Red Skull's little move. He was still shocked by the mysterious life and the existence of the god Chu-Mu. Roar. The specially built room was destroyed along with the fighter planes. Unexpectedly, the mysterious life was completely exposed to the air, and it suddenly made a sharp scream. The cry was like the wail of a beast or the roar of a ghost. Roaring sound. Echoing throughout the valley. The earthquake caused rubble to fly. The earth and the ruins of the small towns on the ground were constantly shaking, as if a large earthquake had occurred. The loud voice with an absurdly high pitch even set off a terrifying wave of air, causing Magneto to only experience the pain of bleeding from all his orifices. Oh my god. What the hell is it? Magneto touched his bleeding ear, roared in pain, and immediately used his ability to surround himself with steel. Again. His level of education was not high, but he still knew that a vacuum could isolate sound, so he wrapped himself in several layers of steel, like a silkworm chrysalis. It creates a vacuum environment. It can only be said that people can unleash their unlimited potential in the face of danger and pain, and Magneto is now using actions to prove this. It's really ugly and dirty. Chu-Mu did not pay attention to Magneto's situation. His eyes were shining with divine brilliance, and he sneered at the mysterious life that showed its figure. I saw. The mysterious life that was exposed by Chu-Mu from the fighter plane had a bloated body, like a creature squeezed out by huge amounts of blob. Its body was extremely thick. When Chu-Mu saw it before, it was originally still a human figure, but now it is as big as a truck. Think about it. Because it needs to release enough tentacles from its body, the surface of this mysterious life's body looks like a small virus. There are countless tentacles extending from every inch of skin on the body. Thousands of tentacles look absolutely capable of killing people with trypophobia on the spot. Not only that. In the position of this bloated head, there is also a huge amount of green eyes, occupying almost half of the face. Coupled with the ferocious mouth that looked like it had been cut apart, the mysterious life looked like a creature that had failed to undergo biochemical transformation. No wonder Magneto was frightened and called him a monster. This kind of life could never be born in nature. Its existence is like a blasphemy to this world. Resisting me. This damn world. I will eat it sooner or later. When the mysterious life roared, the things revealed in its mouth did not have any sharp teeth. Its mouth was also filled with tiny suckers. Tentacle. It is still the kind of density that can scare people with trypophobia to death. For such a creature, calling it a tentacle monster is absolutely genuine. It's really dirty. Chu Mu looked at the tentacle monster in front of him. After being exposed to the outside sunlight, its originally relatively smooth body surface began to secrete extremely rich light yellow mucus, which looked as disgusting as nasal mucus, as if the mucous membrane had been irritated. Provoked by ramming ladle. Tentacle monsters are also rage. Damn guy. How dare you treat me like this? It hurts. It hurts too much. Obviously, the reason why this mysterious life has been hiding in a special room has been found, that is, the sunlight of the earth will bring him the same feeling as a vampire. General experience during solar time. Definitely. The situation is definitely not as serious as that of a vampire, and it will not cause the death of the mysterious life. However, it does not seem to be suffering well when exposed to the sun. Covered in mucus. While it makes people feel sick, they can also roughly guess how much harmful stimulation the sun has brought to this mysterious life. It roared and roared at Chu Mu. The tentacles that filled the air waved even more crazily, and the tentacles that covered the sky frantically attacked the divine power barrier in front of Chu Mu. So that's it. No wonder you have to live in a room made of that special material. The smell of sulfur and putrefaction on your body is really strong. Chu Mu's sight. Not just being able to see normal vision. You can also see dimensions and spaces that normal people cannot see. Because of this, he could tell at a glance why sunlight caused such harm to the tentacle monster. Actually, something that hurts tentacle monsters. It's not the real sunshine. But the sunshine of the Marvel Universe, the breath of the world it carries, a cosmic consciousness that rejects evil and dirty things. This description. Maybe many people don't understand what is going on. To put it simply, the tentacle monster is a life from another dimension. They are like demons like Mephisto, coming from a very evil and dark dimension. Their existence is equivalent to a virus in this universe. The cosmic will and cosmic consciousness of the Marvel Universe also come with a kind of rejection, eliminating this troubleshooting method that may cause its own collapse. Mephisto is relatively good. Although he has no way to come to this world in person, by duplication and occupying the local humans in the Marvel Universe, he can be considered to be able to evade the antivirus scans of the Marvel Universe to a large extent and become a devil that can walk in the Marvel Universe. But this tentacle monster in front of me, it's different. As long as it is exposed outside the special room, it will be found by the antivirus scan of the Marvel Universe. Therefore, the power of the world will want to get rid of this virus. The will of the universe uses sunlight, coupled with the power of law given by the consciousness of the universe, to eliminate the tentacle monsters. There is no hiding. Only in that room made of special materials and metal can it temporarily avoid the antivirus cleaning of the Marvel Universe. Because of this, after being exposed to the air, the body of the tentacle monster began to decay and erode, as if it was about to collapse. However, unlike most normal flesh and blood life forms, the antivirus effects of the Marvel Universe are. It will take a very long time to eliminate this tentacle monster. No way. Looks like flesh and blood. In fact, in Chu Mu's eyes, the current body structure of the tentacle monster is completely formed by the condensation of pure power. That is to say, a creature from some dark dimension. He dedicated part of his power to the Marvel Universe. Before this power is completely consumed and destroyed, the tentacle monster cannot be truly eliminated. Definitely, for Chu Mu, as long as he can find a way to eliminate it. He felt the strength of the tentacle monster's tentacle attacks. If the tentacle monster couldn't use the power of law to fight, it is not difficult for him to deal with this tentacle monster. The question is whether this tentacle monster can use the power of law. No, it should be said that we dare to use the power of law. It also has a curse left by a certain strong man. The effect of this curse will make its existence as conspicuous as a firefly. Chu Mu saw it clearly. It's no wonder that this tentacle monster has to find Red Skull to cooperate. After all, this tentacle monster itself is equivalent to being targeted to death. If you want to do something, not only will it be easily discovered by the consciousness of the universe, but it will also be very easy for Asgardians on Earth to detect its existence. And a fight like this, if the tentacle monster uses the power of law, it will be more severely rejected by the consciousness of the universe, which will definitely be a big burden for it to survive. I don't know what existence put this curse on this tentacle monster. Chu Mu easily resisted the attack of the tentacle monster. One side cannot recognize the speculation. What happened to this tentacle monster? Just when Chu Mu was fighting the tentacle monster, and Magneto shrank himself into a metal iron pupa. Not far away. Red Skull also found the remaining camp, got in and found the box of energy bombs, his eyes shining with cruelty and ferocity. You're all going to die to me, original. These energy bombs placed in the camp were weapons brought out by Red Skull for experimentation, with the purpose of collecting data for Hydra's laboratory. As for the places where these bombs might be used after the energy bombs are brought out, Red Skull and Hydra have actually made presets. It may be used to deal with hostile forces who have obtained the whereabouts of Red Skull. After all, Hydra is not monolithic, and there are always spies from other forces and countries mixed in. Even within the German Empire, Red Skull knew many traitors seeking glory. He grasped the handle of those people and did not expose them. He was just planning for the future and wanted the right time to make threats. Just like those who betray their country for glory, Red Skull definitely has no real loyalty to the Empire. The reason why he is loyal to the German Empire is because Germany gave him the rights. If there is a chance, Red Skull also doesn't mind being the force that ends German rule. This is also the education received by die-hard Red Skull people within Hydra. In the words of the Dragon Kingdom, good birds choose trees to roost in. From the time Hydra infiltrated S.H.I.E.L.D. in the future, they knew that this organization had no loyalty to the German Empire at all. They only need rights. If anyone can give them rights, they will become parasitic. If given the opportunity, they will also make the choice of princes and generals would rather live together. This is human nature. When the temptation of interests reaches a certain height, loyalty is just a joke, and only those stupid people will have the fierceness of die-hard loyalty. Many ancient empires adopt the strategy of fooling the people to manage the people. Is it really just because scholars and upper-class people are afraid of threats from their own class? As long as you use your brain to think or read history books, you can find the truth, actual. The truth is not entirely like that. Class transition is more difficult than imagined. Only when people at the upper level give them a chance can the knowledge at the lower level have a chance to make a leap. In this, knowledge and ability can play a minimal role. Capital needs to choose talent. Talent is talent. This is true in any era. In the ancient times of the Dragon Kingdom, the imperial examination was once regarded as a ladder to heaven for ordinary people. But in fact, if there is no one behind you and you have not joined a certain upper-class force or group, it will be meaningless even if you get the top prize. Looking at the history of ancient Rome and other ancient civilizations can verify this situation. Therefore, the reason why people are restricted from reading. In many ancient civilizations, the most critical reason is that it is easier for stupid people to be brainwashed. The smarter people are, the easier it is for them to have their own thoughts. This is why it is difficult for people who are at the center of power in the empire to have true loyalty. They are all smart people. Everyone wants to gain benefits for themselves. Therefore, only then will there be a situation where the greater the power and the longer it exists, the more internal problems it will have. Everyone has their own little thoughts in their hearts. There are only a few senior staff who can be deceived like Hydra's top brass. In fact, it can be seen that there are not many truly smart people in Hydra's top brass. Otherwise, the future S.H.I.E.L.D. Could it be Fury's turn to take charge? After all, Nick Fury simply got a huge bargain. Faction fighting. Let him, a low-level cannon fodder, steal a chicken. Well, Nick Fury has caused so many tragedies because of his arrogance, which is probably inseparable from his achievements. He truly achieved a class jump on his own. Who would it be? Everyone is probably narcissistic. Nick Fury's pride. From his achievements, which are indeed remarkable for ordinary people. But obviously Nick Fury didn't realize that although he did have some ability, the real reason that made him the leader of S.H.I.E.L.D. was luck. This is inseparable from Hydra's future situation. During World War E. Lost Red Skull. There are only a few minds in Hydra that can still think. They also each have their own interests. Because of this, under mutual checks and balances, S.H.I.E.L.D. became their hidden department. By this time, Hydra was indeed doing well and hiding itself very well. For many years, Hydra did not make a comeback. However, the few minds in the first few Hydras began to grow old. After their descendants came to power, things began to change. Like most empires, descendants probably does not have the ability of its predecessors. Therefore, when the situation of mutual checks and balances was implemented, these second-generation snakes who took over the power began to act stupidly, resulting in a future situation where S.H.I.E.L.D. was controlled by Nick Fury. In the final analysis, it was just the result of mutual compromise within Hydra that everyone recognized. I don't want you to be the boss, and you don't want me to be the boss, so let's just choose an outsider and let that outsider be the boss. The downfall of Hydra. Talk about it. It's not much different from the reasons for the fall of an empire. As it developed later, the people who were foolishly loyal to Hydra were all guys who actually had no brains. Otherwise, it is difficult to imagine how a highly united organization could be uprooted under TNU's circumstances. Definitely. Nowadays, as the sole leader of Hydra, Red Skull still does not know his future destiny, nor does he know how aggrieved he is when Hydra is destroyed. In the middle of a crisis, Red Skull's only idea now is to quickly use the weapons he has developed to get out of trouble and kill the few guys who dare to make him so embarrassed. I didn't expect that I would use this experimental weapon in such a place. Countless thoughts about the German Empire flashed through Red Skull's mind. He looked at the energy bomb in front of him with some sighs and emotions. If he hadn't thought that this weapon needed to be tested as soon as possible as his hidden trump card, he would definitely not have brought out these experimental products. Originally, if he didn't encounter forces that wanted to attack him, his idea was to find some random villages and small towns to test these weapons. But now it seems, the purpose of these energy weapons is to help him get out of dangerous situations. Suddenly, looking at the energy bomb in front of him, Red Skull couldn't help but feel narcissistic. In his opinion, this is obviously a sign that God is on his side. As long as the energy weapons in front of him can reach the power represented by the data collected before, he believes that he will be able to destroy the monsters outside. After all, no matter how scary or dangerous it looks, it is still made of flesh and blood. How large an explosion can be able to withstand? I don't believe that flesh and blood can withstand such a disintegrating explosion. Red Skull is more or less someone who has read some books. Because of this, he is very confident in the weapons in his hands. I just feel that explosion is power, these energy bombs. It must be possible to send all those weird guys into the sky. With this idea in mind, Red Skull began to debug the launch device. Wants to fire energy bombs. Naturally, it is necessary to use the launcher provided by the Hydra R&D department. This Ultra-Era weapon is different from the popular shells and explosives today. As everyone knows, with the continuous development of human society, the pattern of war has also developed with it. Nowadays, various missiles and bombs have become an indispensable weapon and equipment for major countries in the world. The battlefields during World War I were full of explosions and the smell of gunpowder permeates the air. Why does the missile not explode on the way, but does not explode until it reaches the target point? Why does the artillery shell explode after being launched by a tank cannon and bombarding the target? The reason why the bomb can explode only after it touches the target is actually entirely because of the fuse device installed inside it. The gunpowder twister of firecrackers was the earliest fuse. Missile explosives definitely cannot be used in such a simple way, so during World War I, the most traditional fuse Euro fuse was designed. It is a very small propeller, and its basic principle is a delayed fuse, and most missiles and bombs use this method. The energy bomb developed by Hydra uses a completely different detonation method, if you have to give a situation for comparison. Hydra's energy bomb is probably similar to the activation of an atomic bomb. It does not simply rely on impact to trigger the fuse to complete the explosion. Definitely. There is definitely a big difference between it and an atomic bomb, but it is just used to give an example to illustrate that the triggering method of energy bombs is very different from ordinary ones. The structure of the energy bomb is not an ordinary one, and every energy bomb has an extremely complex triggering process. Because of this, ordinary methods cannot detonate it. If there is no special triggering device to activate it, a small explosion cannot even shake the stability. The weapons developed from the Tesseract can indeed be called black technology. Its launcher is a very special tank. The energy bomb needs to undergo a series of catalytic reactions in the tank before it can be aimed and launched through the instruments on the tank. Definitely. If you use a flight fighter to throw it, you don't need to use a launching device like this type of tank. After all, the flight fighter has similar equipment installed inside. My fighter planes were all destroyed by those monsters. Damn it. I still need to fight in person. Red Skull cursed while operating. Fortunately, he can be regarded as an all-round soldier, and he has also studied the relevant knowledge in detail. Otherwise he would probably not be able to use these things even if he had them. In fact, today's era, most of the people at the top know more than the people below. There is a clear difference between the people at the top who only eat, drink and have fun and then tell the people below to do things in later generations. The same is true inside Hydra. Look at the Hydra of later generations. How can each one of them be called an agent? There are even pot-bellied guys in there. Lakakaka. Red Skull worked hard to fill several energy bombs into the tank for launch. The weight of each energy bomb was not light. In normal times, at least it takes several people to carry it. But with Red Skull's excellent physical fitness, he is completely capable of doing the job on his own, but as a commander, he hasn't done such a mean job for a long time. I must turn you into a ball of black ashes. Red Skull wiped his sweat. Bomb loading completed. Loading of energy bombs. Naturally, it is very different from loading ordinary bombs. The complicated steps are not easy and take a long time to learn. But the super soldier serum gives Red Skull a very powerful learning ability, so even if he only briefly learned it in the laboratory before, he can remember the entire process clearly. Therefore, although the device for launching energy bombs was relatively complicated, Red Skull had no trouble operating it. He relied on his excellent memory to reproduce the steps he learned at the experimental site. Not a single step went wrong. Many people actually don't know. Super Soldier Serum also has a very strong development effect on the brain. As one of Marvel's most successful strengthening agents, it is an all-round strengthening agent for the human body. Improvements in physical fitness naturally include the brain. This can be seen from the fact that Captain America Steve quickly learned many modern things after waking up from the ice. He was even able to quickly learn to fly modern aircraft. Not to mention S.H.I.E.L.D.'s fighter jets. It's just an ordinary civil aviation aircraft. It takes a long time for a person with an excellent IQ to become a civil aviation pilot, and a fighter pilot is even more precious than gold of the same weight. Captain America's ability to learn quickly is one of the benefits of the Super Soldier Serum, and Red Skull naturally enjoys this bonus to his IQ. Never forget, it's just basic operations. These absurd and funny things will all end in my hands. Red Skull pushed the launcher outside and aimed it at Chu Mu and the tentacle monster in the distance. Far away. The battle between Chu Mu and the tentacle monster is still fierce. The sky blocking scene is like the end of the world, and Magneto, who has retreated far away, is like a poor ant in the storm. Magneto gritted his teeth and persisted. Naturally, he couldn't detect the situation on Red Skull's side. And Chu Mu and the tentacle monster. But he didn't pay any attention to Red Skull's actions. For Chu Mu, as long as Red Skull survives, the development of history will not be greatly affected. After Red Skull's embarrassing escape, Chu Mu no longer cared about Red Skull's situation. In his opinion, a guy like Red Skull who was afraid of death would definitely run as far as he could. How to say? Chu Mu also made miscalculations sometimes. He obviously underestimated Red Skull's miserable pride and his ambition to defeat the gods with a mortal body. The tentacle monster has never taken Red Skull seriously at all. If it weren't for his own limitations, he would definitely not be able to cooperate with humans who are as humble as dust in his heart. Top mutants like Magneto are just dust and ants in the eyes of tentacle monsters, not to mention Red Skull, who is just a strengthener. Super Soldier Serum may be a very powerful body strengthening agent for humans, but strengthened people are still just ordinary lives. In front of high-level beings, the larger physique than other ants is probably just a tiny amount. To be honest, higher-level beings may not be able to notice this difference. The tentacle monster fighting Chu Mu didn't care about Red Skull at all. Because of this, Red Skull successfully targeted it and Chu Mu. Red Skull's little moves. It was inconspicuous in front of the huge movement around it. The sky is tilting. The mountains are falling. The earth is also shaking and cracking. The noise caused by the battle between Chu Mu and the tentacle monster is no different from the approaching doomsday. However, in fact, this kind of fighting news that stirred up the environment and weather of the entire region was just a situation where Chu Mu did not use all his strength at all, but deliberately suppressed the occurrence of his own 7. Even when the movement is slightly louder, Chu Mu can also protect other places in the distance, directly limiting the fighting movement to this uninhabited area. Fight the tentacle monsters. Chu Mu can be said to be at ease. How to say? The strength of the tentacle monster. It was not as powerful as Chu Mu expected. Maybe it's just a duplication of a powerful being. That's why Chu Mu feels hard to see through and has a premonition of crisis. During the battle, Chu Mu generally resists the crazy offensive of the tentacle monsters. I also took the opportunity to analyze the details of the tentacle monster. All power must have traces and can be traced back to its source. What Chu Mu is doing is analyzing the nature of the tentacle monster. Relying on the tentacle monster's power aura, tracing the hidden origin of the tentacle monster is not a simple matter, especially when the origin of the tentacle monster is by no means simple. Is this all you have? In order to make the tentacle monster more violent and release more energy, Chu Mu looked very disappointed, and issued a contemptuous provocation to the uncovered tentacles. This kind of strategy is not sophisticated. It may only be said to be the most basic psychological warfare. However, it is obvious that the tentacle monster's emotional control ability is not very good. You damn thief. If it were when I first came, you wouldn't even be considered a dessert in front of me. Who do you think you are? Ignorant and arrogant alien god. The tentacle monster was indeed fooled immediately, but although it roared continuously at Chu Mu, the energy fluctuations it swayed did not increase much. Definitely. There must have been improvement, but it is obvious that the strength of this tentacle monster has been greatly affected by the years of resisting the search and killing of the cosmic consciousness, and being rejected and oppressed by the entire universe. At least in this tentacle monster's own view, its current strength is not just a matter of 1 out of 10, but maybe 1 out of 10 is a euphemism. Anyway, Chu Mu wanted to let the tentacle monster increase its energy release and let him analyze the origin of the tentacle monster more comprehensively. Although it succeeded, it did not achieve very good results. The tentacle monster looks like it has used up all its energy to suck milk, but the power it can exert is actually limited, and this has not been greatly affected by its emotions. How to put it, it can only be said that it is not the protagonist. There is obviously a scientific upper limit for such things as explosive seeds. Zizizi, as the tentacle monster continues to attack, the tentacle monster's body begins to decay at an accelerated rate. When using its power, it needs to dedicate part of its power to counter the cosmic consciousness of the Marvel world. Using power can be regarded as increasing one's own sense of existence. The rejection and killing of the cosmic consciousness of is naturally stronger, but the persistence of God's army makes the tentacle monster's determination very firm. If it can successfully obtain God's legion and authority can abandon this part of their original power without hesitation. Mine. That's mine. Thinking of God's legion and authority, the tentacle monster seemed to calm down a lot. It seemed to be making some kind of decision, but it had not made up its mind to implement it yet. Unlike most movies and novels where duplication has self-awareness, the tentacle monster's thinking is obviously more biased towards thinking that is more beneficial to its unknown ontology. If it can snatch the God's legion, stolen by Chu Mu, and gain the authority of God, it does not mind sacrificing itself. This big picture does not have any hesitation. Only, if it can obtain that giant gift for the main body while maintaining itself, this is also the best result for it as an independent individual. There is no contradiction between the two. It's not that duplication that only cares about the ontology cannot become a complete life. If it is gifted by the ontology, it can also have a complete personality. So, the tentacle monster naturally hopes to be appreciated by the God's legion that can make the main body salivate without sacrificing itself. For my great resurrection, strange God, hand over the legion that you cannot control. I can grant you a quiet and eternal death. Otherwise, you will fall forever. You have no idea what a glorious past I am standing in front of you. Once I wake up, gods more powerful than you will tremble in front of me. Let's not mention how powerful the tentacle monster is. Its ability to talk nonsense is definitely great, and its roaring voice carries a kind of mysterious confidence like a dragon. It was clearly unable to do anything to Chu Mu at all, and Chu Mu made him jump around in frustration for a long time, but his condescending attitude seemed to be that he was the one with the upper hand. How to say? Chu Mu even suspected that this tentacle monster was a female. Otherwise, where did this kind of self-confidence come from? Although I still don't know what the hell you are, the bad smell on your body is still a proof that you are just a dimensional Mephisto. If you were really so powerful and invincible, how could you end up in this situation? Chu Mu simply sneered and said mockingly to the tentacle monster. The words fell. In his hand, he directly used the mechanism of Heaven's Gate to convert divine power, and condensed a lightsaber exuding holy brilliance, easily cutting off dozens of tentacle monsters' tentacles like dragons. It's really very relaxing. It's as easy as cutting tofu.
Damn the despicable god. I want you to die. The tentacle monster howled in agony. The severed tentacles seemed to be burning, and smelly black smoke came out when it broke. His face was charred, and the pain that touched his soul was even clearer than the oppression of the world.
It continued to curse and abuse Chu Mu. You and your world, in the end, you will become my food. That day will definitely come. I will make your soul suffer even more painful torture. Voices filled with anger and resentment filled all directions. Echoed throughout the battleground, however. Regarding the threat from this guy, Chu Mu's heart was completely unmoved. Who is not a dimensional Mephisto? Strictly speaking, Chu Mu is still the master of multiple dimensions. That's a bit of a threat. Who cares? Speaking of harsh words. The trolls from Asan country and Bongza country next door are countless times stronger than this tentacle monster. Besides, this tentacle monster must really have the ability to touch and eat the Marvel universe. How could it be possible for duplication to survive the curse of a certain strong man and hide around in this era? Then the original body would have come to seek revenge a long time ago. Why are you screaming here? In Chu Mu's opinion. The tentacle monster's various roars, hysterical curses and threats are, in the final analysis, nothing more than self-promotion and pretense. Perhaps the tentacle monster's true form is indeed a powerful dimensional Mephisto. Dimensional Mephisto wants to touch other universes, but it's not as simple as going to the neighbor's house next door. He just needs to put on his shoes and go. One dimension Mephisto. Not to mention directly descending into a universe with the original body. Even if he wanted to infect a certain world that he suddenly discovered with his own power, it was definitely not something that could be easily accomplished. Just refer to the situation of Dormammu for details. Some people may say that Dormammu is not powerful enough, then look at those boss-level ancient dimension Mephistos. If they want to use their own power to influence other worlds, won't they also be subject to many restrictions and constraints? If it could simply devour and destroy a world, countless universes would have been completely carved up by Mephistos from those dimensions. Chu Mu is not an ignorant novice, so he will naturally not be frightened by the threat of the tentacle monster. Facing the screaming tentacle monster, he swung his sword with his backhand several times. Wherever the sacred power touches, the tentacle monster's tentacles are directly cut into pieces, and then burnt to ashes in the air with holy flames. Ah, the tentacle monster roared in pain again. Damn it. Do you think I can't do anything to you? Strange God. You were making the wrong choice. Roaring and roaring between heaven and earth. Feeling the intensity and terror of the distant battle, in the distance, Red Skull couldn't help but tremble with fear in his heart. He only felt a tremor from his soul. This is the natural fear of lower beings towards higher beings. For ordinary people, perhaps they will choose to give in to their instincts without hesitation. However, for Red Skull, whose pride and narcissism have been strengthened by the super soldier serum. That's not all. Red Skull, who has always boasted of being extraordinary, has always been a proud man like the stars. Because of this, when faced with his instincts, his heart will become even more angry and hateful. Who is he? Red Skull, the leader of Hydra. A proud man who has long claimed to be the future ruler of the world. Why should we kneel down and worship these messy lives? They shouldn't exist. Red Skull trembled and growled softly through gritted teeth. This is the truest thought in his heart, definitely. He could have such an idea because he didn't think that Chu Mu, the tentacle monster, and the power of Magneto would have huge amounts of impact on the world. The reason why Red Skull has such a mentality is entirely because of his miserable self-esteem. Whether it's Chu Mu, the tentacle monster, or Magneto, they have all trampled on the dignity of Red Skull, and the Eye Skull wants to wipe them all out. Such a mentality. Just like many people want to erase their embarrassing past, but Red Skull is more extreme. He feels that anyone who makes him lose face should disappear. The sound of Chu Emu's battle with the tentacle monster made the whole earth shake constantly, but the thought of being able to immediately erase the existence that made him fearful was gone. Red Skull persisted in debugging the launcher. No one can escape that kind of annihilation explosion. Red Skull is obviously very confident in his organization's new weapons. Such confidence. Naturally, it comes from the data obtained by scientists at the experimental base when they were experimenting with energy bombs in the past. The energy coming from the core of the universe has the property of annihilating everything. Like a black hole. Although Red Skull's understanding of black holes is limited, he at least has good scientific literacy, knowing that black holes are things in the universe that can destroy everything. And with its black hole-like characteristics, Red Skull felt that it was natural to destroy two terrifying monsters with ease. In the universe, not even fixed star can protect against black holes. With this thought, Red Skull's heart was extremely hot. He withstood the pressure of huge amounts of pressure, gritted his teeth and used the launcher to cover the area where Chu Mu, the tentacle monster and Magneto were. Arrow 3. Red Skull intends to completely eliminate the three damn guys, and by the way, his humiliating experience will be completely buried with the death of the three guys. Have to say, Red Skull's idea is indeed very ideal. Just take out three guys. After he returned, no one knew how humiliated he had been. He was still the proud man of heaven, the arrogant leader of Hydra who was destined to become the master of the world. In the Hydra organization, he still possesses a pride and majesty that no one can defeat. Many national powers around the world. He would still be shocked when he heard it. Yes, as long as everyone else present was buried, who would know that the rat that he had been driven away was running around like an ant? I thought so in my heart. Red Skull's eyes gradually became crazy. You will be the first to be killed, at first. Red Skull wanted to use an energy bomb to envelop all three guys who were humiliating him, but after calculating it in his brain, it was definitely not safe enough. Because the guy who fell from the sky had a huge impact from the battle with the tentacle monster, the other mutant, who couldn't intervene but whose ability should not be underestimated, was already far away. Aiming in the direction of the tentacle monster, it is difficult to ensure that the mutant can be covered. Red Skull does not want the mutant to escape and go out to publicize this time. Because of this, after weighing it in my mind, Red Skull decided to kill Magneto with one energy bomb first, and then poured all the remaining energy bombs into the area where the tentacle monster and Chumyu were fighting. In order to ensure that all targets are eliminated to the greatest extent, at the moment, Red Skull did not think about the possibility that his weapons would not work. In fact, he has even begun to think about how to exaggerate the annihilation of the entire army after returning to the Hydra headquarters in Germany, so that his reputation and majesty will not be compromised. How to say? Narcissists. Mostly like that. They rarely think about the possibility of complete failure, even if they fall into a very dangerous situation. What a pity for his ability. Red Skull thought about the power of manipulating metal that Magneto showed when he humiliated himself before. If he could use it, he would obviously have a powerful trump card. However, in this situation, he is also very decisive. Made a decision. The ability to control metal is certainly nice. Probably a weapon. A few more years of research will give him the power to dominate the world. As long as he continues to suck blood from the German Empire, he will eventually be able to achieve his final goal. If you can't use it for me, then just disappear. Growled. Red Skull took the lead and launched an energy bomb at Magneto's location. Magneto is far away from where Red Skull is, and while he was tired of escaping from the fighting area, he was constantly observing the battle between Chumyu and the tentacle monsters. His attention was always focused on the battlefield between Chumyu and the tentacle monsters in front. Naturally, Magneto was not aware of Red Skull's aiming and launching energy bombs in advance. His ability to control the magnetic field did not improve his premonition of the crisis. The movement of Chumyu and the tentacle monster is so huge, who would think of the Red Skull who is running away? Even if the hatred between Magneto and the Nazis is extremely deep. After all, Magneto's enemy is mutant Sebastian Shaw. His mother was killed by mutant Sebastian Shaw, and the Nazi identity is just one of mutant Sebastian Shaw's identity labels. The person he hates the most is mutant Sebastian Shaw. Definitely. The painful past in the Nazi concentration camp made Magneto full of hatred for the Nazis, but this hatred did not reach the point where he would risk his life to find the Nazi Red Skull and die together in his current situation. Kill if you can. If you can't kill, you can always find an opportunity to kill later. If the Nazi who appears here is mutant Sebastian Shaw, then Magneto may indeed die together with him in a state of hatred. But it's just a Red Skull, and Magneto doesn't want to risk his own life. He is also a self-proclaimed and somewhat narcissistic character. Although he has not reached the level of expansion like Red Skull, he always feels that he can definitely do great things in his life. Because of this, Magneto also cherished his life. Not long after the battle between Chumyu and the tentacle monster started, he temporarily forgot about the escaping Red Skull, and struggled to escape from the large area affected by the battle. His heart was filled with nothing but an incredible sense of absurdity for today. All that is left is constantly praying. Praying that I can survive today. Speaking of which, Magneto is not a religious person, but what happened today cannot help him not believing that there is a God in this world. After all, the glorious woven wings of Chumyu represent so much religious color. A God is right in front of you, and you can only be forced to accept it even if you don't want to believe it in your heart. Someone who can become a strong person. Probably not a character who always deceives himself. Definitely, thinking about the complicated relationship between Chumyu and his future descendants, Magneto still hopes that everything that happened today was just a dream. That's outrageous. Magneto sighed while struggling to save his life. Although he was far away from the center of the battle, the crumbling mountains and ground still caused many obstacles for him. Fortunately, he was able to find a lot of metals in this area that could be used to resist disasters, which prevented him from being buried in a natural disaster that was like a huge change in nature. Staggering, he controlled the metal and drove himself away quickly. Magneto looked back at the battlefield from time to time, but he did not realize that he had been targeted by Red Skull. This is also normal. Even if his attention was not attracted by the battle between Chumyu and the tentacle monster, the location of Red Skull was so far away from where he was that normal people could not see it. Not to mention that there are severe storms in the environment. Even if Magneto is given a telescope, he probably won't be able to find what the Red Skull is doing in the distance. As Red Skull launched the energy bomb, Magneto was targeted without knowing it by an energy bomb that could annihilate a large community. To this, Magneto didn't notice. No way. Human beings have limited vision and are not born with organs capable of predicting danger. Even Magneto, a mutant, cannot sense danger. In the battlefield where the storm was raging, An energy bomb with the file size of a student's school bag was simply inconspicuous, and it was difficult to detect it under the cover of the storm. The reason why Red Skull was able to accurately find Magneto was entirely due to the positioning system on the launcher and the combat goggles found in the camp. In this era, Hydra also has a lot of black technology inside. For example, thermal imaging technology is fundamental within Hydra, and some technologies even did not appear in the 21st century before Chu-Mu traveled through time. It can only be said that this is the Marvel Universe, and black technology is the basic melody of this world. Didn't you see that in the era of World War E, with the help of science and technology on the Earth, some people were able to build spaceships in the universe? Black technology may only be said to be the normal situation in this world. Not only do scientists who can create black technology frequently appear on the Earth itself, you must know that humans are not the only life in the universe of the Marvel world. There are many extremely developed civilizations in the universe. Because of this, there are many things left by aliens on the Earth, which have also invisibly improved the level of scientific and technological development of the Earth. Compared to other forces, Hydra, who wanted to gain extraordinary power, organized human exploration and discovery in various places around the world, and naturally not only discovered many relics of prehistoric civilizations. Many of the bases used by aliens were also found by Hydra. Because of this, their fighter planes and many aspects of their capabilities far surpassed the national power of this era. To be honest, if Hydra, under the leadership of Red Skull, had not been very loyal to the Nazi German Empire, and if they had handed over their findings to the German Empire, perhaps the Nazis would have been able to crush every other country in the world and have the absolute power to unify the entire Earth. Strength. Can only say, the head of state still believed too much in the loyalty of his subordinates. If Red Skull really suddenly becomes loyal, there are actually many universes where Nazis rule the world among countless parallel universes. After the energy bomb is launched, it is rotated by the propulsion device towards Magneto according to the trajectory set in advance. The speed of flight is no different from that of most artillery shells. This era. There is no supersonic missile technology yet. Even with Hydra's current level of black technology, it does not have the ability to create supersonic missiles. This is mainly due to the development of materials science. Not to mention that the way this energy weapon operates requires the use of a unique propulsion device. Hydra's funding is not unlimited, as long as it can be used. In fact, the power of this energy weapon and its normal launch speed are enough in this era. Anyway, there is no anti-missile system that can intercept it. God knows how tomorrow morning's news will report on what's happening in this area. Maybe it will be said that a certain country is testing some kind of super weapon. Magneto still didn't know his situation. He kept looking back at the place where the battle took place while avoiding the torrents of falling rocks and mud that were constantly swirling around him. And at the moment, sighed. The threat of energy bombs is approaching the Mutant King.